as they said after our last golf conversation. Speaking of bizarre, speaking of really bizarre, in last week's town hall, former President Donald Trump would not say whether he wanted Ukraine to win the war against Russia or not. Of course, we know why. Yesterday, Republican Congressman Mike McCall of Texas, the chair of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, the guy who's been steadfastly on the side of Ukraine, tried to explain what he thought Donald Trump was thinking. Here's what Donald Trump said last week, followed by Chairman McCall's comments yesterday.
Do you want Ukraine to win this war?
I don't think in terms of winning and losing. I think in terms of getting it settled so we stop killing all these people.
Can you say if you want Ukraine or Russia to win this war?
I want everybody to stop dying.
I mean, what do you say to that? I mean, he's your Republican frontrunner right now.
Well, and I think Donald Trump...
And he can't say whether or not he wants Ukraine to win against Russian aggression.
I think he always thinks in terms of winning and losing. I will say this. I think what he is thinking is that this counteroffensive, which is happening soon, will be so successful that we can have a ceasefire and maybe get to a negotiating phase.
Yeah. No. Actually, Donald Trump, the chairman's right about one thing, Richard. Donald Trump always does think in terms of winning and losing. That's all that matters to him. So to say, I don't think in terms of winning and losing is a lie, first of all. Secondly, it goes against what Republicans have always seen as what a strong commander-in-chief should say, how he or she should act, what he or she should do. When Ronald Reagan was asked what his strategy was against the Soviet Union, he said, it's easy. We win, they lose. Here, Donald Trump's going, I don't really think about winning, which once again reveals, as we saw on this show in December of 2015, this guy has some really bizarre fixation, really strange, unexplained connection still 8 years later with Vladimir Putin that he can't even say. He hopes the freedom fighters whose country was invaded by a leader who is committing war crimes every day, he can't even say that he wants that side fighting for freedom to win.
Yeah, you can't be neutral in a situation like this of such moral absolutism. There's not a lot of rules in this world, Joe. Not a lot of norms or rules. The only one that's really out there, the most basic one, is you cannot use force to change borders. That aggression cannot become the new normal. And that's what this war is about. So it's clear that Russia has to lose. If Russia does not lose, we'll have nonstop war in Europe, plus others will take their cue from it. And we'll see this world really begin to look like a jungle. So it's not a gray area. The only gray area is, and I'm not going to give the former president the benefit of the doubt here. He doesn't deserve it in his answer, is I think we have to have a conversation. You and I have had it on the air about what Ukraine has to be able to accomplish militarily in the way of liberating Russian-controlled territory. That's
Welcome to another episode of the Nick and CJ Show. I'm one of your hosts. I'm CJ. What's up, Nick?
Hey, what's poppin', my friends, my family? Welcome to the Nick and CJ Show. I'm glad you had that clip and you played that clip because I was gonna do some reactions to some of those, but Nico House dropped by unexpectedly. Make sure you guys check out the show we did on Friday. People like Chris Hayes, Joe Scarborough, and many people in the corporate media have been making a complete ass of themselves. And a lot of people are questioning why have this town hall. The Ukraine moment alone is why you have this town hall.
Right.
And they want to make up all these reasons why they didn't want this town hall to happen. The same people want 100% okay voting for someone who raped Tara Reid, all of a sudden develop a conscience and say we cannot give a platform to someone who commits sexual assault. And people think that's the reason. People think no, they did not want to hear or open up any debate on Ukraine. They want to have a 100% lockdown narrative on their liberal ideology and discourse. No opposing narrative is allowed to be platformed. The Ukraine thing is big. The Ukraine thing.
And this is why, and this is the reason why, Nick, that they fear Trump. Or I'm not going to say this is the only reason. There's many reasons, but this is probably, I would say, this has become the top biggest reason that he cannot win the White House. If you notice, after this town hall, the propaganda, I mean, if you could believe that the propaganda could get any higher, they turned it up. Like all the shows were talking about it, but not talking about it in the sense where they're talking about it as if he left, like a completely different parallel reality. Like you and our reaction, and it must have gotten some response because it's literally one of our top videos this year. Like that video we did is one of our top videos, and everybody's saying this is spot on. Your critique on what happened. We're not endorsing Trump. We just simply, as non-biased people who are post-duopoly, looked at this and said, this is a tragedy for the Democratic Party establishment, liberal media, and Trump destroyed them. That's what happened. Go ahead.
You want to know who else is this is very uncomfortable for, which is the Republican establishment, because now they have been asked about Ukraine. Like, wait, what's going on with Trump and Ukraine? And I've been clear. We've been clear here. I want you guys to understand. Despite what Matt Gaetz and Martin Taylor Greene saying, most Republicans are in support of the Ukraine war. So having Donald Trump out there as the lead man knocking down this war and make the Republicans who support it look even more ridiculous. And I saw this earlier. I wanted to play this because it is one example that I had. This from Mediaite. House Republican twists himself in knots to explain Trump's refusal to say he wants Ukraine to win. So now these Ukraine supporting Republicans are in a tight spot, which is I think one of the leading reasons why Tucker Carlson was fired. Because right after Tucker was fired, you had Kevin McCarthy. All of a sudden, he grew balls. He grew balls and said, "You know what Putin is doing is a war crime." He said that the second that Tucker Carlson leaves Fox.
Yes.
So they was like, "All right, we got rid of Tucker. Now you got Trump putting these people in the hot seat." So I actually want to see what this guy said. I saw the headline, and I was about to read the article. I actually haven't seen the video.
I saw that too.
I didn't see the video. I actually want to watch it. Let's watch it.
This and Meet the Press was just. Go ahead, play it this weekend.
And there's another video with Chris Hayes of him reacting to the town hall. And we had time. Maybe do a breakdown of that. I was thinking about doing that Friday. But he was making all these arguments of why it's a bad thing to platform a leading candidate for president. This here alone is one of the good reasons. And one of the people like CNN is getting hammered among shit libs and liberals for doing this. But the biggest obvious criticism I have, the biggest criticism that anyone who actually serious will have, was why you have a town hall with a president, someone who was the former commander-in-chief, someone who's looking to be the commander-in-chief, and someone who is campaigning as someone who has a drastically different foreign policy than Joe Biden. But despite that, you guys spend 10 to 15 minutes on foreign policy during the entire 60, 90-minute town hall. This should have been dominating the town hall, but instead, CNN spent all their time asking about what Democratic voters want during a Republican primary town hall. So they actually handled it horribly, but that's not what the liberals criticizing them for. They criticized them because they dare have the audacity of platforming this guy. No, no one even bringing up my criticism. Like you have a president in front of you, you're not talking about foreign policy. Missed it by passing. Anyway, let's watch this.
But it's on purpose because Nick, he is the only one. This before you play the clip, this is the reason why the layers keep thickening on why they're so afraid. Because if he had the stance, Nick, and the poll came back 39 Trump, 46 Biden, they'd be like, "Oh, look, we don't give a fuck. We don't give a fuck." But what you say? What you say about the Ukraine, nigga? What you say? Right. That's what they would be saying, but it's completely flipped. And that's why it's like, man, they're gonna lose the presidency, and weapons manufacturers are not gonna be getting long paychecks as they thought. That's what's putting fear in the establishment. Go ahead.
Let's play the video and then we can react. I actually haven't seen it. I just want to watch the video since we got the article up.
It's interesting.
Of Ukraine and fending off the Russian aggression. I want to play something that Donald Trump had to say at his town hall meeting this morning about it. This week.
Do you
looking
want
over-
Ukraine to win this war?
I don't think in terms of winning and losing. I think in terms of getting it settled so we stop killing all these people.
Can you say if
And why would we view it that way? Ukraine
Right.
is not a NATO country. Why would we view why would there be a winning objective in this for us if we wasn't involved in the conflict like they claim we were not? What we claim is that the United States has been involved in this conflict since the Maidan coup, since at least 2014, since Victoria Nuland hand-selected Ukrainian leader. So we were saying that not like you got criticized for Russia and for invasion. No, we're saying that Russia got involved as well. That's how I see it. The United States. Go ahead, CJ. Go ahead.
No, what I was going to point out is part of what you're saying is that this is also, Nick, a window into the ruling class, how they view war, because it's crazy how they don't count wins and losses as bodies.
Exactly.
Because your bodies don't count. The bodies that are dying in war don't matter. You see how the audacity that she's saying wins and losses isn't less bodies dying, less people dying. Isn't that? I would have, if I was Trump, imagine if Trump's, the only better answer he could have gave, Nick, here is if he said, well, I would say both Russia and Ukraine could win by winning by less people dying. So why don't we have both of them win? Isn't that a good idea?
To that point, you know why the majority of the international community is celebrating the Chinese peace plan? The core tenet of the Chinese peace plan is respecting the territorial sovereignty of people, which will leave Russia leaving Ukraine. But the reason why the West don't want that because the people of the Donbass want to be independent from Ukraine. So they will, in the Chinese peace plan, they will have to respect the referendums that was held in Crimea, where Crimea said they want to be part of Russia, and where Donbass and many areas in eastern Ukraine said they don't want to be part of Ukraine. So everyone that seems obvious to us. When you ask people in the eastern Ukraine whether they want to be part of Ukraine or Russia, they said we'd rather be part of Russia. So if you want peace, why not listen to the people, listen to what they want, what territory they want to be part of, how you end territorial disputes. That's what China is asking. And then Morning Joe and many of the corporate media, they will admit the United States don't want sovereignty of these countries. Because they're like, oh no, this will solidify the gains that Russia has got. You mean the areas that wanted to be liberated by Russia? And now people in Ukraine, they are defining victory as a Ukrainian counteroffensive and retaking Crimea. Which once again, say 80% of Crimea is going to be part of Russia, at least, according to most recent referendums. But CJ, what are you about to say?
To your point, maybe what is this supporting Ukraine is preferable?
I think they might be being. I think they may be sarcastically.
Okay, because I was going to say I thought it was the other way around.
I don't think they're a liberal. I've seen them around, so I think they're being. I think they're
sarcastic. Okay,
that's a liberal mindset. They going to the liberal. Nuclear war is more preferable than Ukraine winning or losing. Now I want the video to continue, but they say they want Ukraine to win, and if we are part of NATO, which is the North Atlantic Trade Organization. You guys understand that? Why the fuck are we involved in Slavic regions? Like, what are we doing here? These are things that people don't ask themselves. But let's continue the video because we just got into it.
Do you want Ukraine or Russia to win this war?
I want everybody to stop dying.
I mean, what do you say to that? I mean, he's your Republican frontrunner right now.
Well, and I think Donald Trump,
and he can't say whether or not he wants Ukraine to win against Russian aggression.
I think he always thinks in terms of winning and losing. I will say this. I think what he is thinking is that this counteroffensive, which is happening soon, will be so successful that we can have a ceasefire and maybe get to a negotiating phase.
Jesus Christ.
Do I want Ukraine to win? Of course. That's why I wanted the administration to put everything they had into this.
This is going to be the funniest thing to witness in politics in the next year or so, guys.
They can't go hard at Trump. They can't because the base, they won't get their votes for themselves. They cannot go hard at Trump in the way they will go hard at anybody with a belief that's contrary to the establishment. This is an establishment guy out loud saying something against the establishment, and they don't know what to do. This is why Trump is such a wild card to them, because they don't even know how to even attack him outside of the normal thing. Let's criminalize him. That's not working. Go ahead.
Yeah. You had, this will be the most interesting thing that come out. What that's, I think I said trade, didn't I? Treaty Organization. Thank you, Gianni. I think I messed up. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization. That's what I meant. But anyway, the most interesting thing moving forward is going to watch the tension between the Republican Party, between the Donald Trump right and the majority of the party, the Kevin McCarthy now and Mitch McConnell right. The right that's all in on this. Remember, Ron DeSantis got cold feet and backed down after he was called out by Marco Rubio. Because Marco Rubio in Florida, despite Ron DeSantis being so popular in Florida, he risked it all by calling Ron DeSantis out because how dare you cross NATO if you're on the right. People need to understand we are a uniparty. Both parties are for NATO. And Tucker Carlson really, really confused a lot of people because, and it was a confusing time. Him on Fox, now we see why. We see that they didn't want him in hindsight, but people see Tucker Carlson show on Fox, and they assume that Republicans, the Republican establishment was against it. That was never the case. That was never the case. Was shown by the tension between them. But let's finish the last few seconds.
He's fine there, and maybe get to a negotiating phase. Do I want Ukraine to win? Of course. That's why I wanted the administration to put everything they had into this conflict so they could win. And thank God the Brits stepped it up when this administration went put the longer range artillery to Crimea. Our administration has put Crimea as a red line, and a victory in Ukraine is also a victory against the Chinese Communist Party in Taiwan. I just came back from the region. Every Asian leader told me what happens in Ukraine has a direct impact on Taiwan.
Insane neocon dribble. And this is the war that the Marianne Williamson and Bernie Sanders love support. You see what they say out in the open? You want to pretend that Marianne Williamson and Bernie Sanders don't peep this shit out. What this shit is really about. Is it about protecting and saving Ukrainians' lives or not? What the fuck do Taiwan and China have to do with the fact that you guys want to quote unquote protect Ukrainian lives? No, the goal, I'm gonna explain to you guys now, they would never acknowledge this, was to grow and expand NATO, have a larger geopolitical reach in terms of arms deals, militarize Japan, send nuclear submarines to Australia, and prepare for war for China. He said the quiet part out loud. I broke down how NATO in the West has a China 2030 strategy on how they prepping and getting ready to go to war and take on China. And he just says the quiet part out loud that Ukraine is a beta test. It's a beta test that the Bernie Sanders left and the Democratic Party are all for. You expect this from the Neocon. You expect it from the Republican Party, but you get this from Democrats as well. I have another main topic, and CJ, you probably know what I'm talking about here soon. But anything else you want to add on this topic?
Yeah, I do want to.
Go ahead.
Let me play more of that morning, Joe, because I do want to get your reaction. The same guy, I don't know if you remember this guy. This is Colin Powell's, I think, chief of staff. This is the one who said we weren't wrong. He wrote that article 20 years later, Iraq. We weren't wrong about Iraq. Like, we weren't lying about Iraq. We just happened to get it wrong. Remember, he wrote that article and he got kind of, he posted it on Twitter and he got ratioed up the yin yang. Anyway, that's what the guy is on the right. He also speaks on another topic, and let's just listen in. I want you to hear what he says on this second topic here. I don't want to preface the topic. I want it to kind of be a surprise.
Insider, if you will, foreign policy conversation, but Russia must be frustrated in its aggression. There can't be a debate.
They have to be in more. Great news over the last few days. Germany has now pledged an additional $3 billion. That doubles their commitment already. So certainly the Germans aren't thinking like Donald Trump's thinking. Nobody in
the Germans aren't thinking like Donald Trump's thinking. Go ahead.
Isn't that great? Isn't it great that the liberals are celebrating that the Germany is now a militarized country once again fighting on behalf of the Nazis? Isn't that great? Germany is back.
I just realized that.
Germany is back arming Nazis fighting against Russia.
History repeats itself.
And the people cheering this shit. People cheering. Imperial Japan is back. And Imperial Japan committed unthinkable atrocities against the Chinese people in World War II. Now liberals are cheering them on. They're like, the militaristic Japan is back, and they're ready to fuck up China again. So Japan wants to fuck up China again. Germans want to help Nazis kill Russians again. We are going backwards. Let's continue.
Yes. All right. So let's continue here. Oh, wrong button.
And NATO is thinking that way, that it doesn't matter who wins or loses.
Well, it's such a stark contrast as we're starting to see Donald Trump in particular on the campaign trail, because really, there's a coalition in the West that still is invested in democracy, still cares about democracy.
Isn't she supposed to be a progressive? This is a progressive journalist. It is so flip, Nick, that Donald Trump is to the left of the so-called progressive candidate Marianne Williamson.
But CJ, they want us to have unique anger when talking about Trump. Remember you said earlier, but there's so many people when they watched the town hall coverage that was confused because we didn't have this unique anger towards Trump, even though you guys sound more crazy than this motherfucker recently. The Bernie Sanders NATO left sounds as unhinged as Donald Trump, but you guys want us to be uniquely angry at him? He sucks. You guys suck. Biden suck. So we're gonna keep the same kind of anger at all of them. That's how I do. But CJ, go ahead.
Yeah, she's from the New York Times, by the way. Let's listen.
Yeah, I hate them more than most people. I hate them more. I hate them. I hate New York Times journalists about as much as I do politicians because they're their lapdogs. They apologize for all their wars. They do propaganda for their horrific economic model. But let's continue.
But then that's what she's doing right now.
And wants to see a country like Ukraine, triumph as a win for democracy around the world, which is under threat everywhere. We know that. And of course, other Republicans know that too. They're just not standing up to Donald Trump, which is really not a good sign either of things to come. They just can't quite seem to quit him, as you said, Joe. Right. But also, I think, Germany is invested, their history, right, is at play here. There's some wisdom here. They have been the beneficiary of course, years and years ago of the Marshall Plan. And so I think that there's some wisdom there. I was curious to see how she made the history momentum continue to grow.
It'd be best you don't bring up history.
And of course, the more that the Western Alliance does.
Let me pause it. Say that again. Say that part is important.
It'd be best if you just avoid mentioning history. We're talking about this.
That's what I thought. I was like, she can't be going down the route of talking about Nazis, right? And she didn't. So
they're gonna bring
the less the United States has to go it alone. Of course, they've not been going it alone, but in terms of just the financial obligation, which is enormous. So sharing that burden is important too. And it looks like momentum has returned for springtime in the
it really does.
Nick, that's the exact sentence I was just about to say. Like, this is so underwhelming. Like, no one believes they actually believe. Even Morning Joe, he doesn't have. You know what I mean? That pep that you and I know because we watched this. He doesn't have it. Go ahead.
I don't know if you noticed it, but I noticed it. Like the change of energy between these segments now versus last year, bro. Because last year there was so much propaganda. I don't know. Maybe they was convinced. Few months in, like, Russia's about to lose. The only cheerleading segments. Man, I'm watching them now. These Ukraine segments talking about Russia losing, very low energy now.
This looks sad.
It almost like they're like, I can't believe I gotta fucking come out and say this shit. Because they know it's gonna age horribly. But they have to say it. They have to say it to stay employed and relevant in the now. But it's almost like they're doing a segment like, man, I know this shit about to be clipped. And people can laugh at it 2 years from now. And they know this is not going to age well. Let's continue.
And Charlie, it's interesting. There's always been, even in Trump's lowest moments of kissing up to Vladimir Putin, again, I talk about, starting back on this show.
So this is the spin now, Nick. They're continuing with the Russiagate line.
Yeah.
That's what they've decided. It took them a few days Because if you notice, right, the day after, they was in shock mode. They were like, they didn't know what to say. Now the segments are becoming to where they're now starting to polish more sort of like rebut. And so this is their new thing, just to further Russiagate and say, listen, the reason he wants to end the war, he wants Russia to win because he and Putin are pals. They're going back to that. What else do they got? Let's continue.
The show in 2015 when we kept pushing him about his support for Vladimir Putin and saying Putin was a strong leader and saying, but he kills journalists and he kills reporters, and Donald Trump, instead of condemning that, condemned the United States.
Just laughable. Go ahead.
I'll let it continue. I'll let it continue.
States says we kill people too. Now, of course, that's devolved into the United States being the greatest threat to Western democracy. Just really perverse anti-American babble. But it's interesting. There has been a divide between Republicans
listen to this
and
part.
Donald Trump on this issue. Even when Trump was president, and senators just shamed themselves every day, bowing and scraping to him. They didn't do that on Russia. They enacted really tough sanctions on Vladimir Putin. They pushed to help defend Ukraine, just like they're helping Joe Biden right now in a bipartisan effort. And I know we hear a lot about, backbenchers who are like, have Kevin McCarthy's ear about being weak on Ukraine. But the overwhelming majority of Republicans in the House and the Senate still tough on Ukraine, aren't they? I mean, still tough on Russia, aren't they?
Yes, so far. But what you're seeing there with Michael McCall, though, is how difficult it is to square the circle. I mean, this is, the
reason I wanted to get what he said is because of that part you brought up. You know that segment you just played?
Yeah.
Morning Joe, Nick, they watched that same segment, and you know what Morning Joe came away with, and what this person right here on the screen is talking about is that Republicans are in an awkward situation that they can't, just what we were talking about, that they can't really come after Trump like they should because he won't support Ukraine. Like it's a given. Both sides, blue and red, are saying it's a given to support Ukraine. So, and they're upset that Republicans can't use this as an attack line. They're upset that Republicans aren't using it as an attack line. And they feel like Republicans are put in a position where they're flailing, not falling, but flailing, like almost like embarrassed to have to answer questions about this is what he's talking about here.
Yeah. One thing I want to add too before we play some more, you guys notice how Joe Scarborough, he keep pretending that Trump was weak on Putin. Trump had one of the most anti-Russian administrations since Bill Clinton. Remember, he tried to overthrow Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela, a key Putin ally. He armed Ukrainian rebels. And I broke this down many times. He authorized a CIA financial cyber attack into Russia that even Barack Obama did not want to do. There's so many examples of Trump opposing them geopolitically, but Joe Scarborough and Democrats, they pretend he's pro-Putin and pro-Russia because he don't engage in the same neocon strategy that they do, dehumanizing all their enemies. So Trump would oppose Putin, and he would speak out against people like Kim Jong-il and many other quote-unquote authoritarian leaders. But then he would say, "Oh well, he's a smart guy. He's smart. He understands what he's doing." He don't dehumanize the enemy, and that goes against the #1 playbook of the United States empire. You have to say that Putin is the most evil person. There's never been a politician in America ever been as evil as Putin. And Trump says, "We do the same shit. We kill people too." They're like, that's blasphemy. Even if you want to say that China is our geopolitical rival, that we should be engaged with them, opposed to them geopolitically, you had to be deeply delusional to say that people like Xi Jinping is not smart. Xi Jinping is a brilliant man. We hear him speak. We hear Xi Jinping talk about history, economics, his plan for vision. You would never hear that from Joe Biden. Like we hear like the speeches from Xi Jinping, not even from Trump. You're not hearing from Trump. You're not hearing from George W. Bush. You're not hearing in a substantive way from Barack Obama. He'll give you a bunch of platitudes, but he will never accurately and intelligently lay out the vision in history the way that Xi Jinping and a lot of the other leaders that we're not even allowed to say they're smart now. If you say that Putin's smart, you're a Russian sympathizer. point out the obvious, right? And that's what Trump does. He gives them compliments, and they hate that. That's it. His action don't match. The action doesn't match up. But he's nice to them. But anything else you want to share, CJ?
Yeah, same. It's the same guest, but it's a different short segment. Erdogan the election. Listen
Love
to
having you
this,
on.
Nick. What they say
Greatly
about
appreciate
NATO
you being here.
and the election in Turkey.
Richard
This is the
Haas, a
second
huge
part I
election
wanted to
last
show you
night.
here.
If you care about democracy, a huge election if you care about NATO, a huge election last night if you actually care about freedom, press freedoms, and the spread of freedom across Europe and into the Middle East. Erdogan being taken into possibly a runoff. Can you talk about how important this election is, not just for NATO, but for the world?
No, it's important. It's important, given how Turkey's strategic location, Turkey's role as an influence in everything from Ukraine, in NATO's future, given their, how they've sided
NATO's
with Russia
future.
in many areas, as a democracy, as a place that tends to imprison journalists. It's part of the larger trend, Joe, I think, as you're framing it, of whether democratic backsliding is the norm. And Turkey's been a classic case of a democratic backslider.
The United States has been leading the way on that. It's called a Patriot Act. It's called habeas corpus. The United States can imprison you indefinitely if they suspect you of being a terrorist. Democracy has died in the United States. We've been leading the way. But I'll let the video continue.
Yeah, and it's funny how, because what I think he's referring to as democracy, like sort of backsliding, taking a step back, he's referring to all the things that's happened subsequent to the peace deal between Iran and Saudi Arabia. And then, all the other subsequent things that have happened since then, like readmitting Syria back, readmitting Syria back into the Arab League. They're against that. So they're describing it as a step back from democracy doing these types of things. And this is what he's referring to with Turkey. But listen to what else he says. He makes another point before he closes here. They only talk about it for like 45 seconds.
Place. It's become increasingly illiberal. It's moved away. But I'll be honest with you, I'm pretty disappointed with the results. The fact that Erdogan got such a plurality, came very close to the 50% mark. The third party that got about 5% of the votes is even more to his right. I think between the politics and his ability, shall we say, to influence the counting of votes, I think it's almost a lock now that he's going to continue on as the leader of that country. And that's bad news for the United States. It's bad news for Europe. And
listen to this last part.
And Ukraine. This is a real disappointing outcome. It just shows still how weak and divided the opposition is in Turkey. But no one who cares about Western security or democracy can be happy with this likely outcome. We've only got 2 weeks until the next round.
You've been hearing that a lot recently.
Crazy. We can stop there as far as the video, but go ahead if you want to.
On that same topic, just real quick, I'm gonna throw this in here. One of the biggest reasons why they hate Erdogan, like they're gonna pretend it's because he's a right winger, all this stuff. No, it's not. You got to support Biden. That's not what it is. It's because Turkey has been one of the few countries that has been opposing NATO expansion. Before, there was the one holdout country that was denying Sweden and Finland their place in NATO. So they are telling you all sort of bullshit on Morning Joe. This is not why they were mad. That's why people who watch MSNBC and CNN, they are less informed than people who don't watch it, because you watch that segment and you don't know what I know, you're getting bad information. So this is the reality of the situation. And one of the reasons why Erdogan struggled was because of the Turkey earthquake, and he mismanaged funds during that. He let people suffer because of that. And that's one thing that made him pay the price politically. He didn't handle the Turkey earthquake well, because at the end of the day, he still is a right winger. He don't really care about his people, and his response showed that, and that's why he lost so much political support, which led to this election being close in the first place, guys. That's why. But if you I watched so many segments on this for corporate media where they're pretending that, oh no, he's not pro-Western enough. He might be overthrown because he's not pro-Western enough. He's too close to Putin. This is the analysis that liberals brainwash the audience to thinking. Has nothing to do with it. A ton of domestic stuff going on in Turkey that we do not understand. We don't understand. And I will tell you guys right now, based on the what I've been reading, the Turkey earthquake played a big part of his struggle. But apparently he got over that hump.
Yeah, because he should. You're saying that to say, meaning he should have walked away from this race and won outright without a runoff. You're saying because he wasn't able to do that is because of one of the reasons would be
there were a lot of anger towards there are a lot of anger towards Turkey's handling of the earthquake. Same way we have anger towards like where our government or Katrina or any natural disaster. That was a lot of the criticism from Turkey there. But if you watch Morning Joe or if you watch MSNBC, CNN, they'll pretend that it's because Erdogan is not pro-Western enough. That is not what it is. Look at this. When you talk about how these election results is horrible for them, this is why they got exit polling there too. Majority of Turkish citizens favor good ties with Russia. Consider United States adversarial. Turkey sees what's up. Polls last year shows that close to 90% of Turkish citizens blame the United States and NATO for the war in Ukraine, CJ. 90%. Wow. Over 60% said they view Russia positively. It was only like 24% that viewed them negatively and viewed Russia as hostile. Only 24%. So this is why there's the real meltdown over Turkey.
And you would never know that if you watch corporate news.
Never know.
And this is my mom, for example, it's Mother's Day yesterday. So was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday. So and with my mom, and she would never know anything like that unless I talked to her about it at dinners and stuff and lunches, which I do. I talk to her about other stuff because I know she's not going to get it through MSNBC because that's what she watches. But this goes to prove that whatever our corporate media, whether print or televised or on radio, to be honest with you, whatever they're telling us about foreign countries, you can almost guarantee it's not the truth. You can almost guarantee it's not the truth because speaking to the point, this is a NATO member country, Nick, and they don't want this leader to be here because specifically on Russia, which is really on China, which is because they see any allyship with Russia or China is really allied with both countries, is how the United States view it. And that's what they're looking at with Erdogan. He's not hardline enough. He's not down with, white power structure enough like they want. So just unfortunate.
Do you want to do your Ukrainian, since we was talking about Ukraine, I think this now would be a good time.
Yeah, we can insert the Ukraine story right here. And it is kind of quick. We don't really have let me bring up, share my screen here, everybody. Hang on a second here. Actually, let me run through one as Nick takes a break. Let me run through one or a couple of announcements. One, we're at 365 or so people watching. Thank you for watching. Mondays, we usually have a big group, so welcome everybody watching, those that are subscribers and those that are not. Hit that like button, though. See if we can get to 300 likes. That'll help us with the algorithm. Here's our Substack. If you want to join our Substack to get notifications when we go live, when we do extraordinary streams, like when we covered the Trump town hall. That was a great stream. I think we're at 15,000 views, so go check that out. For those that are brand new, we have memberships, $3.99. You can get that information by hitting that join button that's next to the video or on our channel. Keep in mind, we are the Post-Duopoly Left, and we will be bringing another Post-Duopoly Left show to you soon. But as a reminder, this week, we premiered this show, The End of Empire with Wyatt and CJ. That's on Wednesday. I believe is same time. This time, Wednesday, this show premieres. And don't forget, we will be scheduling another one of the Post-Duopoly shows, the Post-Duopoly show with Due Dissidence and Hard Lens Media. Hopefully next week we're able to schedule something with them, Nick. All right, so now let's get.
I can read some super chats real quick while you get that.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I'll get the story
saw
pulled up here.
I saw two real quick, so I'll read those. Any other super chats we get to at your segment or near the end of the show. Thank you for the 199 Sam. These mainstream liberals are incentivized to lie for their social club and advertisers. Keep up the great work, friends. Let's set up a discussion or debate between RBN and Infrared Haas. Big shout out to Sam. Thank you for the 1999. Known for Twitter. And I was talking with Nico on Friday. Nico been wanting to debate Jackson Haas for a long time, so I floated the idea on a 2-on-2. That'll be fun. It's been long since I had like. I think Haas would be interesting to debate. Like he'd be Destiny was extremely easy. Robbie from the Hill was extremely easy. I think Haas would be interesting. He's a very interesting dude. We followed each other for a while. I got a lot of strong disagreement with Haas, but I don't have a lot against him. So I think that'll be interesting. I'm not sure when, but yeah, just hit me up, Sam. I'll see another one from you. Thanks for 1999 against Sam. Let's have the conversation. RBN and Haas. I'll set it up if needed. Yeah, I think Sam, he's very close to Haas. I know him for Twitter. I think they're good. I listen. I think they're a little bit more socially conservative than I like, but I down talk to anyone. I down talk to anybody. So we see.
Yeah, you said you and who? You said you and
Nico House have been wanting
Nico
to
House.
debate.
Yeah, that would be good. That would
We've been
be
wanting
good.
to debate Jackson for a long ass time. I don't know why it hasn't happened. He's been calling out Haas for a while. I have no idea what's happening.
I don't know if you
down.
include Nico. I'm not sure Jackson is going to be down if you include Nico.
Dude, I'll give Jackson this. Jackson does seem like he's down to debate anyway. He got balls.
Okay.
I got disagreements with him, but we see. Jackson. Nico been wanting the Jackson debate for quite some time. I'm down for whatever. Like to me, I view it as another show invite. You know what I mean? Like they want to invite me on the show.
Gotcha.
It would be a debate discussion. The same way the Hill invite me on, I may debate them. The same way if Glenn invite me on it. That's how I view it. It is what it is. So anyway, that's the. Oh wait, I didn't even read that last one. My bad.
Go ahead. No, you can read.
I think for $2, not sure. Sam RBN would be interested. Well, I'm down for any conversation. I'll just say that. So, thanks for both the super chats. We get to some others at the end of the show. I'll pass to CJ for the rest of this conversation for your part of this.
Yeah. So since we're already kind of talking about Ukraine and everything, let's go ahead and get to this story. It's a shorter story, but gamma radiation spikes in Ukraine. This is an amazing story. And I'll read the headline. Oops, let me go back to the screen. I'll read the headline. Radioactive panic. Russians, it should say Russia. Russia missiles hit Ukrainian ammunition depot in, I can't say that name. I don't want to mess it up, but, let me try. Khmelnytsky, causing massive explosion. The cache of British depleted uranium tank shells destroyed gamma radiation spikes in the region's atmosphere. And I'll read this little snippet that I got from this article. Quote, a spike in gamma radiation was detected in the city in Ukraine or about May 12th. This was just 3 days ago, with emissions continuing to rise the following day and remaining elevated levels thereafter. Considering how little gamma radiation comes from depleted uranium. Now think about that. This is the key part. Considering how little comes from depleted uranium, this clear spike in gamma radiation indicates that there was a very large stockpile of depleted uranium munition that was destroyed, raising the uranium dust in the air. Just amazing. And you might be thinking, yeah, that's terrible. But how is that going to affect us? This could affect us. Now, the second part, Nick, now this is just a video I got. This is from an earlier explosion because I wanted to get that attached to this article. But then I found the actual one. So that's what this is. This is not the actual one. This link here shows the actual one, and we'll get to that in just a second. And it shows video. But what I did want to show right now, Nick, is just some of the reaction here. Where's my quote tweets? Just some of the reaction, and then I'll pass to you for your first sort of comments, and we'll get into some of the. Oops, I clicked the wrong thing again. But some of these quote tweets have some great points that I want to showcase here. And that where is one of them? Here is it. What a nightmare. Listen to this. This is the one exactly I wanted to showcase. What a nightmare. That will get taken up by the jet streams and circle the planet, raining out in our rivers and fields, causing all kinds of death and disease and genetic mutations in babies. The death mongers are probably just happy it will rain out on Russia first. Monsters. So we have to understand what something like this is doing. So when a candidate, Nick, and I'm going to pass to you after this, when a candidate like Marianne Williamson says, "Oh, I support the Ukraine war," you can't support militarism even if you're trying to act like it's justified, and then be like, "I'm all against climate change."
Go
ahead, Nick.
The Marianne Williamson, AOC, Bernie Sanders left are now the biggest climate incrementalists in Washington, because they say, "Oh, well, we gotta fight the climate change, but it's okay, we accept militarism." Those things are not compatible. You cannot vote for increased weapon sales and arms deals and military packages, which have a very significant carbon footprint, and then pretend you are progressive, pretend you are pro-climate. And this environmental catastrophe also highlights how winning a nuclear war is not possible. It's not possible. Yeah, okay, you won your nuclear war. Now our environment is fucked forever. Nuclear. I think this is a very, very small sample of what's going to happen if we had a nuclear war between these giant superpowers, whether it be United States versus China, or United States versus Russia and China. There's one big reason why we must always oppose war.
Okay, for this article, some people are already asking. I just put the link. I forgot to put it in earlier, so my apologies for that. I just put it in now, so now you can, if you refresh, you can go in and get the link. I'll just read parts of it. This article, and this was just put out yesterday on Mother's Day, and this is by Paul Saran. And the website is the gatewaypundit.com. The West proxy war against Russia in the Ukraine has led to progressively more deadly weapon systems and ammunition to be delivered to Zelensky's Nazi regime. Now, I didn't know this website, Nick, before this. Anytime I'm reading a new website, I'm always curious about the words in the article. Kind of tells me if this, like, what the writer is about, and the fact that he's using a Nazi regime as far as Zelensky's Nazi regime is kind of telling me that this is at least that is an accurate depiction of what's going on with his regime. So possibly the most controversial of these deliveries are the deadly radioactive shells for chargers to tanks that the British government has given Ukraine. R.F. Kennedy Jr. commented on Instagram, quote, in another reckless escalation, Britain has confirmed delivery of depleted uranium munition to Ukraine. DU, that's short for depleted uranium missions, should be banned. They partially vaporize on impact, and that's what the person was saying. It gets into the jet stream, poisoning the environment with Ukrainian dust that causes cancer and horrific birth defects. And that's just what that tweet was speaking about. These pictures aren't it. This is advertisement. I don't want you to think that's what that's saying. That's advertisement on this website. On Saturday, during a massive air and missile raid on Ukraine, Russian forces hit an ammunition depot in Ukraine, this Ukrainian city in the western part of the country, causing a gigantic explosion in the site. I'm going to scroll down to here. Slave Yard on Telegram. This is Slavergram or something. Savigram, whatever. You see it there. Here's another quote I wanted to read. Quote, a clear spike in gamma radiation was detected in this Ukrainian city on about the 12th, with emissions continuing to rise the following day, remaining at the elevated levels thereafter. This is not the part. Okay, here it goes right here. By comparison, the town of Chernobyl, Khmelnytsky, and Novaya remain at their apparent regular base levels. This is what's key, why I wanted to make sure I read this part. The other places haven't raised, Nick. This indication that the anomaly is indeed a spike and corroborated the claim that the stockpile in this Ukrainian city contained uranium or depleted uranium munition. This is basically a verification. I know I kind of jumbled it. This is basically a verification that what was kept at this depot, Nick, was DU munition, because now the levels of the GABA radiation levels are elevated and are remaining elevated, Nick.
Yeah.
So just a terrible story again. But all they're going to do, Nick, us a casualty of winning democracy. We're killing the planet, but we're winning democracy, right? It's like when you see those side effects to those medications on TV. It's like here's cures diarrhea, but it has a side effect of like suicidal thoughts. It's like what are you saying? But any last thoughts on this story? We'll be giving more updates. I couldn't find, and believe it or not, Nick, there's nothing on corporate media about this. No print, nothing you could find. There's 2 stories I was able to find on this story. Go ahead.
Yeah, the report on Ukraine has been awful in general. Like it is all.
Yeah.
I've been watching the last 2 weeks, and I haven't even done a lot of corporate analysis of their statements because it's all been garbage. There's this upcoming spring offensive, and we got some jagoff expert to tell you why Ukraine's gonna do better this time for some reason. And they cover these nonsense segments to deflect away from the horrors of war. Also, the war crimes the Ukrainian officials have been committing against their own people who are considered too pro-Russian. Something that was not covered from the Russia's kidnapping Ukrainian children story was that the Ukrainian children and their families didn't want to get too much information because they feel like they was going to be retaliated by the Ukrainian government by signing up with this Russia program to get them out of war zones. So just by signing up to that, they thought it was going to be violently retaliated. Now, why would they feel that way if there wasn't a history of that happening? You know what I mean? So this stuff that always happened. Anyone who opposed the Azov agenda and regime, that was dealt with violently in Ukraine. So that's all. Anything else you have, CJ?
Yeah, I forgot. I told them I would show them the video. It's no sound or anything, but I'll show you what the actual video looks like for those, since I promised to show you the actual video. Right. It's a different tab, everybody. So 1 second here. So this is the actual video. I'll just keep the sound off of the actual explosion. And again, I was only able to find this one video from the same article. But yeah, crazy. I'll rewind it so you can see again. Yeah. Engulfs Ukrainian weapons depot after Russian missile strike. I'll read just the headlines. Moment when alleged Russian missile strike struck ammo depot. Man, they don't care, Nick. That's what's so disturbing. It's like their children is going to be affected by this, man. Like, and you don't even care at all. But anyway, that's the end of that segment. I'll pass it to you. I know you got a couple segments you want to cover, sir. So I'll pass it to you.
This is gonna be a fun one because I've been trying to get my brothers and sisters to decolonize their minds. That's the only reason I'm in this public sphere. I told you guys before, I'm a citizen journalist / an agitator here to shift the Overton window to the left as far as I can, because I have good arguments and I need you guys to convince me that your capitalist dogma is true. So there's been this long-standing tradition between capitalists and the ruling class to get people from disenfranchised, marginalized communities to fight each other, to have some sort of competition on who the most oppressed. I like to call it the oppression Olympics. Let's have an oppression Olympics. Let's see who the most oppressed, and then fight and beg the white man for resources and beg them to love us. And that's what so many Negroes who have been Americanized, as John Wabraka has been, have been convinced that somehow that migrants, Latinos, all these other people are somehow our enemies, and the reason why the Black community is in the state that it is. Now I'm gonna show you guys this article. Now there's a town hall in Chicago. We are in late stage capitalism, and things are continuing to get worse for workers, especially Black people. Racial income inequality is higher than it's ever been. So Black people are upset. So despite everything that is going on, you have this person, Pamela Denise Long, who I'm pretty sure I ripped quite a few of her op-eds because I'm starting to remember her name. She is becoming so ridiculous. So this new trend of Black capitalists who do not want to acknowledge that this system has failed us, that they exploit Black labor, they support the police state. They're trying to shift the focus and anger the Black community on undocumented workers. That's what they want us to be angry at. So let's analyze this mindset, and we're gonna go through the story. I love the story. This is gonna be hilarious because I'm gonna thoroughly debunk this nonsense right now. Thoroughly. I've been arguing with these Black capitalists all down Twitter, destroying the ridiculous.
I've been loving it, Nick. You know what? I go to a few people's accounts on Twitter. I just go to my feed, right? I go to your account because that's where I know what's happening with liberals, or if it's sort of like a recent fight. But let me tell you, I don't know. I know you've come accustomed to her now, but one of the first times that I covered her with you was that stream we did with the Bank sisters, and it was why Black people should leave the Democratic Party. And one of the articles was like, yeah, something like that, why Black people should leave the Democratic Party. And she wrote it. And I remember covering it because some of the parts of the article was good, but then we were always pointing out parts in it like, yeah, this is that Black something part of it, like the Black capitalist spin of it. And we were pointing out that in her article at that time, even before we knew, some of her writings. So just to give you memory lane.
So I'll be on my timeline vibing, raging against the ruling class, picking apart dumb opinions from Oppo journalists like this person, who I would love to have a conversation with, but Pamela blocked me. I told them we want to have a conversation with them because I want her to explain with me, with her big brain. I want big brain Pamela to explain to me this open border that Biden has. Explain to me how that works. So for one, you immediately start off exposing yourself as a moron if you are claiming Jim Crow Joe, who's funding the border industrial complex more than Trump, has an open border policy. Mm-hmm. So immediately destroying your credibility here. And now, as we get to this article, I want to digest the ridiculousness of their arguments, because they were saying legal immigration is hurting us, and you're going to see these people in this town hall who I do not mostly blame, but they need to be educated. Think about the inverse of what these people are saying. That somehow, if we got immigration completely under control, let's say that we quote unquote close the border, somehow destroyed and killed all migration in this country. Do these Black capitalists really believe that once we get rid of undocumented workers, that the white man will wake up? All of a sudden, the white man will be like, oh, we got no more immigrants now. Now we're going to take care of Black people. We're going to love Black people. If it only wasn't for them immigrants, we would have taken care of you in the first place. Beyond parody for anyone to believe this. And this is why I have all the smoke for trained Negroes who have been Americanized, who want to become the oppressor themselves. Now let's get into this. This comes down to whether you believe me or Pamela. Now, considering that Pamela believes that we have an open border, who's on the right track here? Who do you think has the most legitimacy in this argument? Because I will claim, and I'm gonna show you guys later why I say so, anyone who claims that Joe Biden has an open border, they are the dumbest, most unserious people in politics. Period. So I'm gonna show you guys exactly the open border that Joe Biden has. Biden, this is from this year, Biden to replace Trump migration policy with Trump-esque asylum policy. Here's Biden, who funded ICE through record rates. The Biden administration, ICE contracts encourage forced labor. So Joe Biden's ICE was literally using forced labor on migrants. But apparently, according to Pamela and the dumb black capitalists, he's not doing enough. He's not doing enough. You guys want to see the policy that they claim is open border. Let me see if I can pull. I actually had the wrong thing saved. I'll pull it up here. I read this quite a few times. Joe Biden, here it is. And I know I read this quite a few times on the show, but it seems like I'm the only one who reads because you have the vast majority, you have so many people in political discourse that are repeating the bullshit that Joe Biden has open border. So if I ever was to have a conversation with Pamela, which I don't think she wants to happen because she blocked me, right? I want her to explain to me how this policy is an open border. So you had Biden in his 2023 budget, $97.3 billion for the DHS, the most ever. Between the border and custom enforcement and ICE, they get $6 billion more than Donald Trump. Can you imagine how much people will be ridiculed if they said Donald Trump had an open border policy? So why do we allow this dumb shit when a Democrat is president? Especially when said Democrat is funding the border industrial complex, deporting more Haitian people than Donald Trump ever did. Already deported more people, but according to Pamela and a bunch of dumb black capitalists, we have an open border. And somehow this open border is negatively influencing people in Chicago.
Oh yeah, it's not serious, Nick. It's not serious, but I am really curious to they really believe this, and the thing is because some things I went to her page before she blocked us because she blocked all of us. I went to her page before she blocked all of us.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, she went to the whole network and blocked everybody.
Because she's mad because I put her name in the picture.
It wasn't because of you. It was because that, but because you called her out, the main account screenshot yours and quote tweeted her, and she responded by saying for us to join some sort of space on Twitter.
Oh, I told him I'm down. That's gonna be hilarious. That's gonna be hilarious. I'm going to dismantle these people. I told him I'm down.
But it was yesterday, so you missed that part. But maybe you can invite her on to the show. We'll reach out to her and invite her into the show. But
I need her to explain
go ahead.
Open border policy.
It doesn't make any sense to me.
And I'm gonna explain. And we just now getting started into how ridiculous this is. We already show how Joe Biden do not have open border, Pamela, and all the black capitalists who somehow believe this is their struggle. Apparently, I'm the only one who reads. And I was asking her these questions. And I was asking her why are you punching down at undocumented workers instead of the Chicago Police Department that's taking 45% of the city municipal budget? And why is that important? Because it's the core argument that a lot of these black people in Chicago are making. So she blocked me. I want to have a conversation with her about this. Now, let's get into this. Because I'm gonna find the press conference video. So let's watch this video. And I'm gonna show you guys, and you guys kind of hear the complaint. Now, before I get to this video, I do want to say this. The same way I am not extremely angry at the uninformed Biden voter, I am not necessarily angry at these people. These people are the result of the long-standing effort to get black people, Latinos, Muslims, Asian, all fighting each other. You got black people say, "Oh my God, they got Asian pro-Asian policies." And then whenever black people get something, Latinos, like, "Oh my God, why they getting that?" Then Asian people, like, "Oh my God, why are you getting it?" Am I the only one who view this as pathetic? You guys are fighting for crumbs, begging your oppressor to acknowledge you. As you want other people to suffer, and you buy into the capitalist myth of scarcity. That somehow, that if we take care of the immigrants, we won't have enough. Why are you buying into this argument? This capitalist scarcity myth. which I want to ask
So
him
it's
about.
the same.
And
it's
I
the
want,
same.
and go ahead, CJ. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say to your point, it's the same brainwashing that white workers get. We are not seeing this is what's happening. It's a divide and conquer. That's all this is about. Dividing the worker.
And I have way more heat for Pamela and her defenders than I do these people, because these people are the unfortunate result of this longstanding divide and conquer strategy by the capitalists that we must call out. You guys are spitting in the face of people like Nkosi Mandela, the grandson of Nelson Mandela, who explained why we need to have international solidarity. He had organizations and events that showed solidarity for our people. But you want to spit in the face of Haitians? Those are the black people that Biden is punishing. Black Cubans. You want to go after these people in order to tap dance and get the approval of the white man, which they are. Because I'm going to show you some of the people that are excited about this. Because you want to know who love the battle between black people and Latino fighting for resources? As black people attacking migrants, blaming them for their problems, you got white men like, they fight each other. Look at these dumb motherfuckers. They fight each other. We robbing both of them. But we got black people against that's anti-Latino, Latinos that anti-black, and white people love it. You guys are suckers. They are robbing us, but you worry about immigrants. And I'm going to show you guys some evidence of this. So 70% of black people and 70% of Latinos do not trust their drinking water, because black people's drinking water has been poisoned. And I want Pamela or any of these black people to explain to me what did the illegal undocumented immigrant have to do with the fact that our water is poisoned? What did the undocumented immigrant have to do with the fact that black people had the highest amount of medical debt? You cowards are afraid to punch up and call out our real oppressors because you guys want to become one. That's the problem. So let's hear from the people who've been brainwashed by these black capitalists. Go ahead, artist.
It is insulting that you would consider such action about a forgotten community that none of you live in.
Developing tonight, outbursts and outrage at a community meeting in South Shore over a housing plan for migrants.
The debate comes as the city deals with the crisis of where to put migrants bussed in from the border.
Elizabeth Matthews is live now with more. Elizabeth.
Corey and Don, contentious to say the least. This forum was a chance for city leaders to get input from the public about the old South Shore High School housing migrants. The city got their input.
A packed house at the South Shore International College Prep High School. The crowd voicing their opinion, strongly opposing the addition of migrants in their community.
I am just outraged. I'm outraged, and I don't understand why our community was...
Imagine being outraged about a housing plan. So this is my problem. You guys are essentially begging for crumbs from our state instead of demanding what is ours. I am a Marxist. I am a communist. You people are deeply unimpressive to me. Oh, boo-hoo. Oh, my God, why won't you allocate tax money correctly? How about we seize the means of production? How about we stop buying for bullshit neoliberal plans instead, and we should be advocating for universal programs instead of this garbage. Black people, we have the highest amount of medical debt in this country. But instead of going after big pharma, you're going after housing plans? We have police budgets. They take 45% of cities' budgets, municipal budgets. But you're blaming housing programs? You guys see how colonized your mind had to be to focus on one of the few good things our government do. And you're like, oh my God, why are they not doing it for us? Why aren't you calling out corporate bailouts?
So this is how I see it, Nick. It'll be like I don't understand. It'd be like, we are prisoners, and they bring in another. So we're two prisoners, Nick, and they don't give us enough to eat. They capture another prisoner, and put the prisoner in our cell with the same amount of food. We're mad at the other prisoner. What sense does that make, instead of being mad at the prison guard who's not giving us enough food? It doesn't make any sense. But this is the framing. But this is why I say But this is why, to your point earlier, I'm not mad at the person with the sort of prison mindset, the slave mentality, who doesn't understand that's the dynamic. You get what I'm saying? So people like this who are overworked, working people who are overworked, especially black people, overworked, underpaid, no health care, and got the police state. So all of these pressures coming in, and then that leaves an opening, a fertile ground for propaganda, for divide and conquer methods. And that's what has been seeped in here. We have to be the ones that go into these communities and help decolonize. But people like Pamela are not helping that fight.
Yeah, they are the one who brainwashing these people who want the best for the community, but they are being tricked into divide and conquer by the capitalists. So I am giving harsh critiques in what they're saying, but I do want to be clear. I am not mad at these people. I'm mad at the person who writes the article because they're part of the professional managerial class who brainwashes people. Hope that's clear. So let's continue to listen to our arguments, and I'm gonna knock quite a few of them down as we go. And after this, I'm gonna show you guys who's extremely happy to see this footage. You got the entire right wing.
They loving it.
Media
they loving it
here. You got all these right wingers that are showing this. So all the black capitalists who tweeting this out, who now patting themselves on the back because they sound like fucking Ron DeSantis and Doug Carlson on immigration issues. Do you think that a lot of these right wingers have your best intention at heart? And I'm gonna get to that here very soon.
Classic coonery, where you think the praise for you being willing to join your oppressor and oppressing somebody else is somehow praise that your oppressor likes you. You are a moron. You are a moron. That's plain and simple. They are only like patting you on the back because you're helping to oppress somebody else.
And that's how Pamela, despite being not a great critical thinker, that's how she got a job at Newsweek. You think she's the smartest Negro they could find? Pamela, she's a moron. But she's the Negro that can write a Newsweek because she's gonna do divide and conquer for them. So let's continue and listen to the ridiculous arguments.
Was chosen. City representatives saying the old South Shore High School would not be a shelter, but one of 3 respite centers for the migrants to temporarily sleep, eat, and take a shower, starting with about 250 people taking up the building's first floor. This is a way for the city to get the current 300 migrants out of the police stations. Questions were asked, but answers hard to hear, interrupted by the upset crowd. Before the meeting, a small protest of South Shore neighbors demanding the energy put into the migrant issue be put into their neighborhoods.
It is a slap in the face that we as citizens of the United States of America do not have the resources and support, but you're going to bring people who are not citizens here in our community, in our buildings that we pay taxes for, that you took away from us.
You're so close.
That's what I was saying. You just gotta take out just a couple of parts, and she's on point. But go ahead, Nick. I think you're going to the same place. Go ahead.
I just want to propose how I want the video finish. I'll let the video finish, and I'm gonna continue with the article because I'm gonna break the points down there. I'll let the video finish actually.
Yeah. That is completely unacceptable. We are in a humanitarian crisis right now. The Black people in Chicago are bleeding on the streets.
Mayor-elect Brandon Johnson had this to say about the migrant crisis.
We have a responsibility to make sure that families who are seeking love and support here in the city of Chicago and throughout the state of Illinois, that they are not just welcome, but they are serviced.
So is this a done deal? A spokesperson for Mayor Lori Lightfoot's office says this is a possible solution, but still a fluid situation.
So instead of blaming our sanctions regime, instead of blaming the military-industrial complex that which led to this migration crisis, they're blaming the migrant who have no choice. Instead of blaming the people who allocate the funds towards war, towards the police, instead of these wasteful neoliberal programs that has been in place in Chicago forever, they blame them housing migrants in hotels instead of prisons. Guys, you want to know why they do that? They do that because it saves money. You know how much it costs to house a prison? Like they do these studies, they're like, bro, it actually save us money to do this. So once you realize they do these things to save money and to be generally more humane, you're going to realize that their complaints is ridiculous. So now I'm going to get to this.
But to that point, Nick, to that point, this what people have to understand who have this stance, because they're almost there to you, like you said. You protesting this and them saying, "Oh, okay, we won't do the micro center," ain't gonna get you nothing you want.
Nothing.
It's not a trade-off. You get what I'm saying? You're saying, yeah, we need this. We are in trouble, which is true. That's like I'm saying. She was accurate. It is true. There is a crisis happening, not just in Chicago, but Chicago in particular. Yes, but having the migrants not come in these places and be treated like humans is not going to get you that. Like either way, you're still going to be in the same situation.
I want to show you guys why this makes no sense. So I'm going to show you guys. I'm going to go back to my page. I actually clipped out this part here. Let me pull it up.
Let me
throw this article I wanted to make sure I definitely read. Here it is. Let me see. Here it is.
It's a question for you. It's a comment that has a question for you. I'll put it in later because I'm sure you're gonna want to answer it.
What was the question?
It's a question that's gonna get you going. Maybe it says, "Do you think a lot of this immigrants have the Black community's interests at heart? What arguments are y'all even making?" So you're saying if
we can say, I want to make sure I stay on
Go ahead. Yeah, that's why I was like, let me wait. Yeah, let me wait.
We throw that in because I think by the end it will be 100% clear. The argument is, for a long time, capitalists have benefited from divide and conquer. So that is exactly what they want people to do. You have these people who are blaming illegal immigration for their community not getting the resources that they need. So I think here's the quote. Here's the quote. Actually, I had to pull it up right here. Here it is. I'm gonna show you guys why this is ridiculous. Black Chicagoans of the South Shore neighborhood came out in droves to reject a recent proposal to convert a public high school building to a migrant facility with chance of build the wall. Now let's get back to that. Hold that thought. So they were chanting build the wall. Okay. And calling the city council to task for, so they will complain that they're making decisions about us when none of you live here. So their complaint is they feel that the migrants are siphoning financial resources away from Black citizens. That's their argument. Their argument is that we are upset at these migrants because they're siphoning resources from our community. So if you are actually concerned about the resources from your community, why do you want to build a wall that will cost untold hundreds of millions of dollars? Who pays for that, sir? You guys see how that doesn't make sense? So if you care about resources going to your community, how is your community going to be taken care of when you got a wall that's not going to stop migration being built that is siphoning hundreds of millions of dollars and then hundreds of millions of dollars per year based on repairs? So that doesn't even make sense for you guys to even complain about that. And if you're going to complain about how our resources is managed, you will look at the bloated Chicago Police Department that is not preventing crime. You will look at all the means-tested neoliberal programs that do nothing. That's the argument that we are making. The objection that these Black people have is that we need more resources to spend on our community. So if you want more resources to spend on your community, why aren't you calling out the military-industrial complex? Right. Why aren't you calling out corporate bailouts? There's so many things that you guys can call out that is way more significant than one fucking school. So let's say, in your argument that we don't build a school, you guys save that money. So they're going to put a reparation program in place? You guys going to have health care? Or are they going to take care of it? No, as socialists and as communists, we are advocating us seizing the means of production so we don't have to beg on our knees and attack other marginalized communities to get what we are owed. You guys look pathetic to me attacking other communities. White man, love us more. White man, please give us more. Give us more, please. No, that's ours. That's ours.
It's coonery it's coonery, Nick, because this is exactly what a coon does. A coon says self-preservation over the group. That is exactly what a coon. This is a derivative mindset of coonery. There's no other way to put this. Go ahead.
They think that if they call out the migrants, then white people are gonna love them and, and accept them. Because we've seen how that worked before. So you want to see the kind of people who are cheering you guys on? If you guys don't know who Andy Negro is, probably one of the most openly anti-black people out there. One of the most openly anti-black, racist. Like, I remember the things he said about the Black Lives Matter protest. So this is a guy who clearly don't give a fuck about our community. But look, he's extremely happy. Because what did I tell you guys? There is nothing that makes white America more happy than seeing this pathetic shit. They're seeing this shit like, oh my God, why are you taking care of them? Take care of us. Come on, white master, please. Deny them their services. Give us ours. Accept me as part of the oppressor. As a Marxist, this makes my skin crawl. You guys are crawling to your knees, begging the capitalists for some chump change. Pathetic. Now, this is what Andy Negro said. One Negro.
He's not black for those that know he's not black.
Mr. Andy, how do you fucking say that? Ingo? Oh,
no, it's no.
It says Black Chicago residents held a press conference to express frustration that hundreds of migrants have relocated to the city. Millions of migrants have made illegal crossing to the U.S. last year. And this last year, due to the administration's lax policy. So once again, another moron pretending that we have open borders. And this is the kind of person who is cheerleading your coonery, Pamela. For all the people who are all the black people who are extremely anti-illegal, undocumented worker, you're providing the talking points for these people. Because, as I said before, there's nothing more than white people love than watching us fight.
Right.
Watching us fight.
Like, if somebody who's on your opposite side is retweeting you, like, look at this shit. Like, the same thing happened to Anna Kasparian when she talked about, she made some comment about being a woman, and then all of conservative media retweeted her, from Ben Shapiro to whoever else. That's kind of an indication here. So if you're a black person and you write something and a bunch of white conservatives tweet your shit, that's a little suspicious to me. That should tell you something, though. Go ahead.
So do you guys think Andy Negro or all these right-wing Republicans, do you think that they want to reallocate funds to house black people? Do you think that what they calling for? Unbelievably ridiculous. Come from these people. So and this is what I put up earlier. Hold up. Here it is. Oh shit. Here it is. I said, this is white America watching black people, immigrants, and other marginalized communities fight with each other. Just like the right-wing media sphere is loving this story. They like, we got them to fight. They probably can't believe it. They're like, bro, after all the shit we did, they fight each other? Can you imagine being that dumb, giving them that victory? So now this is the point. If you guys don't get it, this is what black capitalists will not understand. This is what capitalists do not understand. And this is what I openly challenge on my show all the time. I have made this point many times on RBN. People take econ 101, and I was debating with this person. They was like, "What, you saying that migrants don't lower wages?" I'm like, "Show me the evidence of this." He said, "Well, I took an econ 101 class." That's the case. No, I'm dead serious. That's what that motherfucker said. A bunch of capitalists teach you a bunch of bullshit in education, and they say shit to deflect blame from themselves, and people take it at face value.
Yeah.
The Walton family, with their fortune, Jeff Bezos, with their fortune, they would love to pay Amazon workers a living wage. Jeff Bezos would love to pay them $25-$30 an hour if it only wasn't for the illegal migrant. Do anyone believe that? That makes no sense.
But this is the reason why I feel like these Chicago residents are coming out and saying this, because let's say if you're a Chicago resident and you're saying, why don't we have this? Why don't we have this? And you're the elected officials are saying, well, those immigrants are siphoning all. That's what you're going to say, because that's the reason they're telling you you can't get what you need. It's because they're saying it's because somebody else.
So I read the theory of labor value. I know what labor value is. A lot of black capitalists don't. So I'm going to read this very true meme. No immigrant has taken your job. You were laid off by a capitalist who took advantage of the immigrant to increase his profits. And nothing makes them happier than to hear the fact that you're a fucking idiot who's actually mad at the immigrant instead of him. So they decide, because capitalism is a system and a mode of production that values profits. The only job of a capitalist is to produce profits. The job of a capitalist is not to take care of their community. It is not to have a central planning model that is best for most. Their only job is to maximize profits. So when they decide to lay you off and then pay an illegal immigrant less, they are making a coordinated decision of paying and replacing your job in order to maximize profits. That has nothing to, the migrant not forced them to do that. I never had a job in my entire life where I was like, man, if only that illegal undocumented worker wasn't around, I'll be having a pay raise. That is not how it works. Your manager, your boss, your industry is making a decision because they're trying to maximize profits. There is no mysterious mechanism. This is what they teach you in Econ 101. Man, I would love to pay my workers their fair wage, but there's this phenomenon where there's migrations of immigrants around, undocumented workers around, and since they're around, unfortunately, I have to pay you minimum wage. I want to pay you more, but the undocumented worker is forcing me to not to. Ridiculous,
Nick.
Ridiculous.
But if your analysis of what's happening to you, like these people, isn't like rooted in economics, this is why you're not coming up with the right reason. And the people the capitalists, the people who write all the educational books, who make all the rules, is telling you at every angle, it's not the system. You're never talking about the system is not producing correctly. You're always talking about what the people who want the system in place is telling you it is. So, and that's coming from every angle. But to you, like an average person, Nick, who's not steeped in politics, they're just saying, well, if this news outlet is saying in this one, that's two different ones. I'm getting two different sources, right? That means that's right? No, it's all one corporate source, regardless of the name of the company. Go ahead, Nick, if you have.
So that's the last part of the segment. I'm gonna show you guys how ridiculous this thesis is. This is why I want to get back. This is why I want to get to this question earlier. I want to push it back because this is what arguments are y'all even making? So now let's get into this, because this is the feigned argument from people who pretending they care about the black community, but their job is to divide and conquer. It said Biden's open border hurts black Americans most of all, and we all know it. And the argument, as I've shown you through this article, if you scroll down, the number one argument they are making is they're siphoning financial resources away from black citizens and imposing unnecessary competition for jobs. So if you are concerned about the state of the black community, you will be advocating for universal programs that will uplift us the most. So I'm gonna show you guys something that black people should really be concerned about, and stuff that is really pertinent in our community. And I want you guys to see whether the undocumented immigrant has anything to do with this at all. Here's number one. This story released a few days ago. High percentages of black Hispanic Americans worried about tainted water. And when you look at it, 76% of black adults, 3 out of 4 black adults, 7 out of 10 Hispanic adults are concerned about their drinking water. I drink tea here all the time. I buy my water because I can't drink the faucet here. Shit's disgusting. Absolutely. All our water is poisoned. So my question to the people who believe that the black migrant is our number one problem, how is the black migrant responsible for the fact that our infrastructure has been destroyed by negligence? That our water is poisoned in Flint and many other places. What does the undocumented immigrant have to do with this? And you also have the massive problem of Black Americans in medical debt. So you guys are talking about undocumented people siphoning resources away as the Black Congressional Caucus and Democrats don't support Medicare for all. You know who Medicare for all will help the most? Black Americans. 1 out of 3 Black Americans are going to suffer medical debt in their lifetime, the highest out of any group. The number one killer of Black Americans is heart disease and cancer because we don't go to the doctor. We do not get diagnosed as fast as other people do. So if you actually care about the Black community, you'll be supporting Medicare for all. You'll be attacking Moderna, Pfizer, Big Pharma. Right. These are the people you'll be calling out, not undocumented migrants. And so if I'm still not getting to you at this point, and you're worried about the economic well-being of Black Americans, you want to know who they definitely not blaming? Barack Obama. How many of these Black boomers are holding press conferences calling out Barack Obama? So Barack Obama is directly responsible for the destruction of Black wealth because how he managed the banking crisis in 2008. He hired Eric Holder, who was a Wall Street plant. WikiLeaks revealed how he was chosen to be part of the Obama administration, and then he took all the Wall Street bankers who illegally, and emphasis on the quote illegally foreclosed on Black people's homes because they knew they can get away with it, thus crashing our wealth because Black people's wealth is usually tied into our homes. So a lot of these Black boomers has a picture of Barack Obama somewhere around here in their house. So as you motherfuckers refuse to put a glove on Barack Obama, you got pictures of Barack Obama. You guys love Barack Obama, who destroyed our wealth. You want to tell me you want to attack the undocumented worker? What did the undocumented worker have to do with 2008? What did it have to do with the fact that we got the highest amount of medical debt? What did it have to do with the fact that 61% of civil asset forfeiture cases are Black? That millions and millions and millions of dollars are stolen from our state by our government. Is that because the undocumented migrant, Pamela? Oh, I can't wait till you guys invite me to this space because you guys got some explaining to do. I'm always.
I didn't know you wanted it to be invited because when she sent the link yesterday, I saw it in the thread. I would have told you about it.
I couldn't.
Yeah, I would have told you.
What the fuck? We got Mother's Day. People was like, "Let's do space." Like, are y'all doing anything? Like the fuck? Yeah. I'm just shit posting on Twitter, bro. I'm not gonna derail my whole day.
So you knew about the space, or you thought she was bringing you on a show? I thought you wanted to.
She replied to me on Twitter, and I replied to her once. And apparently I hurt her feelings. She blocked me. So I haven't seen, like, I was ready. I was like, we're going to have a quick little exchange on Twitter. Then I'll reach out and we can do something. But she blocked me after my first response.
No, I think she blocked you. I think she blocked you because I said, she posted the space and I was like, I wouldn't attend this clown shit or something like that. I said, so maybe. But that was me. I don't think she blocked everybody because of that or because of you. Either one of those things.
Account. They know who my account is. Yeah. They know the fuck. These people know who I am. They know what I'm always sparring with people. And I want to say, if you want to back up your arguments, you can. You guys see how little amount of people take that me up on that offer. And I'll be willing to do that in this conversation. Because I
think she'll come on. I mean, I think she'll come. If you invite her, I'm pretty sure she'll come on. Just gotta. You got to find a way to reach out, probably by email or something. I'm sure.
I think the spaces is going to be fun because spaces are chaos. I was in spaces debating.
I got to hear that. I got to hear that. I was
in the space debating people a while ago on how left is organized because they were one of the people that were like, oh my God, you guys are organizing these people for anti-war rallies. Went in there and dismantled these people. I wish it was like 100 people in there. Shit was hilarious because they were taking turns. I was like, all right, who's next? You can go 2 minutes. You can go 2 minutes. So we can do that again. I would love to have.
Oh wow, I missed that. I didn't see that. I
don't
think I saw
There's a few people in our community that saw it. There's a few people that saw it. It was one of them late night things. I was bored until they invited me to the space they wanted to call me out on something. It was fucking glorious. I wish I would have posted it. But we can do that again on one of these other Twitter spaces. I'm always down.
Okay.
One of these that we see. But I think that's all I have. Let's see. Is there anything else I want to make sure? I think that's it. I think that's mostly everything I want to
Might be
cover.
the last thing.
One
I'm sure we'll
point.
revisit it in the future thing.
One-
I'm sure
one-
they'll reach out to you. Go ahead.
One last point I want to make. The frustration shown at the Chicago press conference is because of neoliberal means-tested programs. They are upset because they got a house. They're upset because they get housing. They get taken care of, right? This is the trap of neoliberal means testing programs and why they advocate for it. Because when you means test shit, when you say that only certain people can get this benefit, then people will start gnawing at each other about it.
Right.
The thing that makes Medicare for all so solid is that everyone gets health care. Everyone gets health care. So who suffers the most from medical debt? The black Americans. Who suffer the most from wage theft? Black Americans. Who will benefit the most from having our labor value actually respected? Us actually giving the living wage will be our community. So if we drop neoliberal and liberal means testing programs and have straight up black universal programs that redistribute the wealth that we earn from the capitalist class, there wouldn't be no pathetic groveling over resources. Oh, he got this, but I didn't get it. No, we deserve it all. And that's where I'm very interested in seeing how these people are going to debate, because they buy into the argument of scarcity. The migrants can't be taken care of because there won't be enough for us. And imagine being so dumb and making that argument, seeing how much police siphon for our community. We had civil asset forfeiture where they stealing millions from us. Chicago Police Department taking 40% of their budget. But they arguing over the crumbs. It's pathetic. Corporate bail, trillions of dollars going to corporate bailouts, and y'all arguing for crumbs. Pathetic to me. That's why it'd be interesting to see how they go about it. Because we see the people who propping them up, they are the white American culture warriors and right-wing trickle-down economic capitalists, because they see you guys doing the job for them, a divide and conquer. Useful idiots at best, which is why I don't tolerate it. I don't tolerate it. CJ, I think I'm done with this segment. Anything else you want to?
No, we're good on this segment. I think you got another one. I think if not, I'm ready. I got a couple other ones to do, short ones to do. So
let's
I got a NATO one.
I may do this tomorrow. Yeah, I may do this tomorrow. Cause I'll pass you for another segment.
Yeah, so it's basically it's a.
Oh wait, hold on. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say it's a potluck of a bunch of different things that we're just gonna call like the latest in the Democratic primary, because there's a couple of case study clips I want to show and get your reaction. They're talking about RFK and Marianne Williamson. I want to talk about Joe Biden polling. Again, I just got a couple of things to show there, and then if you have any receipts, maybe the Morning Joe, the Meet the Press part where they talk about this. It's in panic mode for Joe Biden, basically. But let's read that comment from Zoya if she has any.
Yeah, Zoya says means testing creates bureaucracy and makes social programs ineffective deliberately. And that's what black liberals like Pamela are calling for. More means tested programs. Fuck that. How about we take care of our communities? Period. Because those are our resources. That is why I legitimately believe we build value in this society. In the capitalist class, they don't believe in this, and there's so many people who think they're capitalists who actually exploited workers, who believe that CEOs deserve 100 times more benefit than a teacher does. I, to my core, do not believe that. If you are a fast food worker, you're providing energy to the working class, you have a very important job, and you should be accommodated appropriately. If you're a citizen in this country and you pay taxes, you should get health care. We should have housing taken off on the table. We should have banking nationalized to the point like China has. So we have affordable housing programs. So if we had that, well, you guys be complaining about the migrants being housed, because we would have it. It would be universal. You see, this is what means testing do. So instead of creating a universal housing program where everyone will be taken care of, you get one people housing. You get these undocumented migrant housing. Meanwhile, everyone's like, what the fuck? I want that. Why they get that, but I don't get it? Am I the only one who thinks it's pathetic to see people?
No, it is pathetic and it's sad to see. But to Zoya's point, when she says means testing deliberately underfunds programs, they deliberately underfund programs to make them ineffective so they can go in media. Look, that government program's not doing anything. It's intentionally underfunded for that purpose. And they do this all the time. It's a tactic that they do all the time to underfund something. They're doing that with the Obamacare. They do that with the things like the DMV government program. So you can never go, the government is actually working, because then people will be like, well, then let's raise more taxes so that the government can work even better. You get what I'm saying? And they don't want that. They don't want that sort of slippery slope. But on to the next comment, if you had one, Nick.
Yeah, Vicky said, what I love about RBN is you guys always call out when people are mad, their neighbors or other marginalized people instead of the powerful. Remember the question I told you guys, ask this question whenever you hear any story. This is what I do. I am not bullshitting you guys. When I saw this story of Black people complaining about migrants because they think that's why they're not being funded, as soon as I saw this story, like, who does this shit serve? And you can see who it serves. So people like Andy Negro, whatever his fucking name
is. It's just no. I looked up the pronunciation. Okay. Yeah, when it's Asian, it's an Asian word, NGO. Yeah. But when you pronounce it in English, it's just no. Andy no.
Yeah,
that's
I don't follow him that much, but it was him. Like, he was the one tweet I grabbed. But if you search the story, it's a big right wing Twitter thing. This press conference. So when I saw that, who did it serve? Pamela, who did your rhetoric serve? Not serving
right around Title 42 expiring. So they're going like this. Oh wow. And it's not black, it's not white faces, so they can't call us racist. They're chomping at this news conference or this sort of rally that Black folks had. And they should rally for they're not getting their material needs. It's the wrong target. It should be at the right target. And they would, if it was at the right target, Nick, they wouldn't be getting all of these cameras in front of their faces.
Yeah.
If they wasn't targeting immigrants, if they were targeting capitalism, let's say, they would get the Uhuru socialist movement treatment. Is that what they would get? Yeah. Go ahead.
I can't to wrap the segment. I cannot emphasize enough the long-standing Black tradition of international solidarity. And I wrote an op-ed about the coordinated effort from the capitalist class, especially the Black capitalist class, to make us forget about our roots. Forget about MLK, Fred Hampton. Fred Hampton was extremely internationally aware. The Black Panthers was an extremely internationally aware group. They stood in solidarity with Palestinians. They stood in solidarity. MLK as well stood in solidarity with everyone across the globe. Malcolm X was notoriously international.
Yeah.
So somehow you got our Black community went from being extremely international because we recognize the trauma that other people went through, and we want to build solidarity networks so we can resist that. So now Black capitalists say stuff like this all the time, and this is one of the comments I saw from Pamela before she blocked us. They was like, when do these migrants ever show solidarity with the Black community? When does that ever? They never show solidarity with me. They don't care about us. It's called leading by example, you cowards. Why do you guys think MLK motivated millions into an anti-racial movement? I'm sorry, racial solidarity movement, class solidarity movement. It's because we lead by example. We are the leaders. We are the ones who set revolutionary trends, and that has always been the case, especially in this hemisphere. That's always been the case. So we lead the way, and we educate people throughout the process, and we build solidarity networks. Because I've seen it in my own life. Multiple people with different races that see my message of Black liberation, and they say, "Nick, I am down," because they know I'm fine for everyone else. I don't need an incentive. I personally don't need an incentive. I don't care if you fight for me or not. I want to do the right thing. And when we do, and we build this movement, and we shift the culture of wanting people to fight for the right thing, then we will get the cross solidarity. You guys think that happens overnight? It takes work. If there are anti-Black sentiments in the Latino community, absolutely, guys. And that's something that's actually not talked about enough. But what the fuck does that have to do with our fight for justice? So we project and we supposed to support horrible politics because a Latino person hurt your feelings before? You know how you
but the same people, Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Because it's the last point. Because JB made as well. You know how you break down those walls? By forming systems of solidarity. By forming those systems of solidarity. When you work with people, when you're in community with people, when you get to know people, those prejudices go away. You find yourself starting to care about these communities. You guys doing this thing where you're like, I don't care about anyone else because they don't care about us. That accomplishes nothing. And I don't want to be one of the people that just accomplished nothing. But CJ, sorry, I cut you off. I just want to make a point. Go ahead,
No, you just actually made part of the point, and
I'm glad you put this tweet on.
Yeah, the second part of the point I wanted to make was this tweet, because when you start to say like this is a result, when you say how do we get what happened to our Black sort of traditional radical understanding of things, and Ajamu speaks to it right here. Pro-American Negroism is what he calls what we're talking about here. And I've been using the word coonery, it has a residualness of sort of the effects of being coon, and this is what I'm talking about. And this is a better, more professional name for it. Pro-American Negroism is the logical consequence of 50 counter-revolutions. A essential element of its ideological character is captured in the popularity of theories of anti-Blackness that lack any national and class context that others colonized and exploited people. Puts it so perfectly.
I'm glad you showed this tweet.
Puts it so perfectly.
That's I see this problem where instead of seeking Black liberation, Black capitalists want to be the oppressors themselves.
Right.
Y'all niggas trying to sound like Tucker Carlson on him. They want to be the one who locked the immigrants in the cage, and they think that's their path to liberation.
I mean, it's a rap line from Jay-Z, and I'm a recovering Jay-Z fan. He says, "What's better than one billionaire? Two, especially if they have the same hue as you." That is what he's talking about. Just having more Black oppressors is the finish line for Black capitalists.
Yep, absolutely. Well said. So, I don't want to replace them. I don't want to be a manager. You know what I mean? That's what a lot of people want to do. So we want to, we trying to get people to decolonize their mind, and that's why I want. Into that comment earlier, I will always have all the funk. I will always have all the heat towards people who I see do the capitalist bidding. The capitalists bidding on divide and conquer, pushing culture wars, pushing intellectually lazy thinking that the workers cannot have like this wave of anti-intellectualism that our society is trying to implant on people. Like, so when you see Pamela says that Biden has an open border, that's her promoting lazy anti-intellectual thinking that we cannot survive that. Like, and for a long time, we pushed anti-intellectualism, but we need to become an intelligent working class community. We need to be well-read. We got to have strategies. We can't have strategies like, let's take over the Democrat Party. Let's have a good time campaigning. Let's vibe and hope everything go well. No, we need to do what the Black Panthers taught us. Like, the Black Panthers used to have monthly theory readings. Like, if you want to be a leader in the Black Panthers, you was expected to lead those theory readings a lot of times. There's got to be a coordinated plan of attack. We got to know our history. We got to be able to debunk the nonsense that come from both parties. And that is why I have all the fun for the Black people who are not doing that. The people who are just lazily regurgitating corporate bullshit. That's why RBN exists. But CJ, I'll pass to you. This is my last story for
So let's talk about the state of play in the Democratic Party and what we're calling, Democratic primary and Joe Biden. So we're calling this segment Joe Biden and Democratic primary in shambles. And this is a couple of just short little headlines and a couple of clips we'll show from case study that kind of sums up all of this. And let's start with this, Nick. Let's start with this. Now, when we're talking about the left and how it's been realigning, what have we been seeing? The NATO left is a split. The boutique left, there's a split, right? And what have we said? What have I said in particular? It feels like progressives have actually regressed ideologically, because the hardline stances they had on things like Medicare for all and war, they don't seem to have this time around. And to that point enters Next Generation America, nation's largest young voter turnout organization, commits to significant resources to general election campaign of Joe Biden. You like that, guys? These are the progressives. So let me read just the first paragraph because it tells you the amount. I just want to insert the amount for this part of this segment. San Francisco, Next Gen America is announcing its endorsement today of Joe Biden for president of the United States with an initial, meaning they're going to give more money, Nick, initial investment of $45 million. $45 million, Nick, to a clown, Nick. $45 million could do what materially for so many people?
Can you
the
imagine?
Organization?
Now you got to the electoral politics, but go ahead, CJ.
The organization will target more than 4.5 potential young voters, 18 to 35, in key battleground states through tactics that suit the conditions of a global pandemic, including peer-to-peer texting, digital advertising, influencer partnerships. We already covered that, Nick. Influencer partnerships. This money is going to that, Nick. So you know how that guy that's on TikTok saying all that stuff? This is one of the groups that's helping fund that.
Mm-hmm.
Influencers and direct mailers. Likewise, Gen Z America is announcing an initial $11 million spent on ad reservation for the general election. That's an addition, and that's in addition, Nick. So, what say you about this first part, Nick? Next Generation. These are the young progressives like the DSA type. That's who this is. Go ahead.
This is why we are post-duopoly left, because I feel like there's not enough scorn thrown towards these young Democrats. Not enough scorn thrown Democrats in general. I had scorn for them in 2020, but now they really expose how evil they are, how they lack all moral character. Because even though we strongly opposed it, you can see it morally makes sense for someone to say, man, I hate Donald Trump. Donald Trump has been a disaster. I want to prevent the spread of Trumpism. I saw anything his government doing. I want to stop it. Once again, we know why that's ridiculous, but at least that makes logical sense for someone to say that. For young people or any progressive to support Joe Biden after what we saw him do, after we saw him expand all Trump's policies. Because let's say you young, dumb, and little shit libby. He thought that Joe Biden can't be as bad as Trump. Once again, strongly disagree. But you can at least see where that's coming from, right?
Yeah.
If you are supporting Jim Crow Joe, who kept the kids in cages, expanded all of Donald Trump's border policies, did more public drilling programs than Donald Trump, expanded the Willow Project, increased the military-industrial complex, took COVID relief money and sent it to the police. After doing all of that, you expose yourself as morally bankrupt. You understand? Morally bankrupt. So here's something I'm going to do this election, CJ. I haven't got a chance to do it publicly to someone yet, but I cannot wait. And I want you guys to do it too. Whenever you run across a progressive Biden voter, ask them this question. Is there anything that Joe Biden could do to lose your vote? And once you ask them that question, then you see how they have no values. That question generally, they won't say it out loud, but it will generally be no. Because what made Trump unvotable? He's unvotable. You will never vote for that person. Why? Because the kids in cages? Because the militarism? The pro-cop rhetoric? What was it that made Trump some person that could never be supported, but Biden is? So the question I want everyone to ask is, if you're voting for Biden in 2024, what could he possibly do as president right now? I'm going to ask quite a few people this. What could he do as president right now that will lose your vote? And watch them. These people have no answer to that because they're morally bankrupt. Let's continue, CJ.
That's a great point. Now I'm just going to get to a couple of clips from Case Study QB, just pointing out just some, along with devastating polling, just other things, other polling that's happening, and other storylines to this Joe Biden and Democratic Party in shambles. This one right here, Next Generation, putting a face to that last article and short little paragraph I read. So let's listen to this from Case Study QB. Again, shout out Case Study QB for the clip. Here we go. Maybe I have to refresh. Yeah, I'm gonna have to refresh it.
Yeah, just
if you
refresh
sit
it.
too, yeah, if you sit too long, I gotta refresh it. But this is one of the representatives from Next Generation Z. Now, not only, Nick, are they sending $45 million, or initially going to be pledging $45 million, they're also going out and doing what AOC did. And that's going out and giving lip service and painting Joe Biden as some sort of great progressive, as some sort of candidate that has accomplished so many great progressive things. Oops. Okay, there we go. All right, should play now. Let's listen. And this is MSNBC having her on. And let's listen.
His re-election bid, a progressive group full of young voters also announced, "We're with Joe." Next Gen America declared that they will invest $45 million to send young voters to battleground states and $11 million on ads for the general election. The group's main focus is to tackle climate change, racial injustice, inequality, and to save democracy. And to do that,
Nick, is the Democratic Party doing anything to solve any of those problems right there, Nick? The answer is no.
So their job is just to gaslight people. That's what it is.
Yes. That's what this is going to be.
they believe that President Biden will be their best bet. Joining me now is Cristina Sinzun Ramirez, President and Executive Director of Next Gen America. Cristina, it's always an honor to have you join the show. Let's talk about Next Gen endorsing President Biden really early in his campaign before anyone else jumped into the race. Why such an early endorsement from such a powerhouse organization like Next Gen America?
Exactly. Isn't that the same question we asked about Bernie Sanders? And it's the same question you asked about the 2020 election. Why are you showing your hand that you support Joe Biden already? What are you going to get from it?
Exactly.
Just ridiculous. But back to the video. I hope when I pause.
In America.
Yeah, well, in 2020, we had the largest youth voter turnout in American history. My organization helped mobilize 1 in 9 of those young voters who helped elect Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. And we want to do it again because this administration has delivered on progressive policies that young people care about, whether it's on climate change, gun safety, student debt cancellation, or marijuana reform. They have
He literally has not delivered on any of those. Marijuana reform, Nick. Nobody was in prison, Nick. 0. Student debt reform. That's about being overturned, intentionally set up as a house of cards. The climate change. She's talking about the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act, which was like having a boat that's sinking and one person putting boat into the boat, water into the boat. And then one person taking water out of the boat and put it in. It's like it's one hand washing the other. And understand, from this IRA comes the Willow Project, guys.
Yep.
So selling out the future of their own generation, Nick. I know you're going to chime in. Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, this is shameless lying for the Gen Z group. And can you imagine who this person's parents probably are? They was like, she's the CEO and director for Gen Z for Change. I am asking you guys this question. What school do you go to? What do you have to do before to get appointed to such a position? Like, are you a specialist at something? Like, what did you do that led you to be the CEO, the representative for Gen Z? Not a goddamn thing. This is someone who was propped up by their class to be the representative of this youth, and they're gonna lie for the Democrats in the way that we supposed to hate Republicans for lying. Because as you point out here earlier, the lies she's saying about Biden is no more ridiculous than the shit you guys hear about Trump regarding MAGA. As far as this is political fan fiction that she is saying, and this presentation where she's saying all this stuff without being challenged is exactly why we are the most propagandized country in the world. Blatant misinformation.
And we have to point out how identity politics is being used with this organization. She is clearly a woman of color who's put out there, but understand, just like Michael Brooks in that video we show all the time with Vivek Shabir, even people who are people of color who are advocating, they're in the middle class. This is overwhelmingly middle class. So PMCs, they can be of any class. It's not just white PMCs that are advocating for these sort of class sort of teaming up with the Democratic Party. It's PMCs of all races, including this young lady right here.
Have delivered more so than any other administration that I can remember in my lifetime. And we need another 4 years because there's a lot more that we need to get done.
Oh my God.
So Christina, I wanted to ask, because last week you tweeted, quote,
go ahead.
I'll be quick, but there need to be social consequences to this shit. I remember when I had my viral tweets calling out the Gen Z kids, there was a few accounts I saw in my mentions that wasn't worth bringing up, where it was like, oh my God, why are you picking on these kids? And they was like, oh my God, these Gen Z kids being bullied. Yes, these people need to be bullied. And trust me, this shit is not going to work on the Gen Z. Like when we do these, we said it before, these are not anti-Gen Z segments. These are anti-Democratic Party segments because the people who see through the most on this is Gen Z. The people who clapping around to this shit is boomers. Fucking online Democrat boomers and Gen Xers. They're the only people that fall for this nonsense. They need to be ostracized, and they need to be in the working class. Need to be militant on picking on people who are class traitors. There used to be a time. Now people are too queasy of this, but during the initial labor struggles back in the day, during the 40s and 50s, people who were caught crossing the picket line, they got their ass beat. Now, let's say
the good old days.
Let's say, for the sake of our YouTube channel, that we did not advocate for that. But let's say that class traitors back in the day openly got their ass beat. Now violence is never the answer. We run never-ending military budgets and police budgets. So I'm gonna say, throw it out there. We don't support it as a channel, but Gen Z, you guys need to handle your class traitors. We need all the anyway, go ahead, CJ.
Now, furthering the segment, same topic, just a different video. This is also MSNBC and discussing a focus group who want to debate, who want Biden to debate Marianne Williamson and RFK. This is Chris Jensen says Biden's challenger barely registered in poll. I think they're referencing Marianne Williamson. She's jabbing at Marianne Williamson here. Let's listen.
There are new questions today about whether President Biden should debate his 2024 Democratic primary challengers, even though they barely register in any polls. A new Axios focus group.
That is such a shot. That is such a shot. That is like they want us to debate, even though they're not even registered. They're barely registered in polls.
Now
she obviously can't be talking about RFK, but go ahead.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up because to show how ridiculous she's being and ridiculous the establishment is being, they've been propping up Ron DeSantis as the legitimate challenger for Donald Trump. But Ron DeSantis is polling literally around the same as RFK Jr. right now. You guys know that? Literally they're both around 20 to 22%. So according to the establishment, Ron DeSantis is a legitimate challenger to Donald Trump, but RFK is not, even though they're polling around the same. Once again, we know this is another example of them telling on themselves. They know this shit is rigged. That's why they can speak about it with such certainty, right? The same when they do Ukrainian segments where they're like, "Yeah, we're sure that the Ukrainian people to get the weapons they need." They say that because they're part of the establishment and they know the United States is gonna do that shit. The same way they say Marianne Williamson and RFK don't stand a chance, is because they know the system is gonna rig it against them. And in hindsight, I should have picked that up when I supported Bernie. When they were so confident that Bernie was gonna win, wasn't gonna win. Back then, I was naive. I was like, "We show you." No, nigga, they knew. Yeah,
they show you. They show you.
Anyway, we can continue.
All right, here we go. Here.
Voters in the key state of Georgia, all of whom voted for Trump in 2016, but Biden in 2020, found that everyone on the panel thought Biden should debate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. or any other prominent challenger.
They don't even want to mention her name.
This group is a small sample, but they're hardly alone.
Yeah,
there has been criticism of the Democratic National Committee for not planning any debates from within the party, including from former Obama cabinet member Julian Castro, who was on this program yesterday.
The DNC, have a lot of respect for him, like a lot of the people there. But then deciding that there will be no primary, no debate, I think they actually need to give Joe Biden a chance to get out there and show the American people what he can do.
Joining us now,
Look normalize.
Let
me pause it. Yeah, absolutely.
Advisor polls.
There we go.
Isn't it hilarious how fascism is so normalized in our society? He brings up a good point where he's like, "Yeah, man, I think Democrats should be allowed to debate." What's the guy? What that guy's name again?
Julian Castro.
Yeah, Julian Castro.
Yes.
Julian Castro makes a good point where he's like, "Man, I think the Democrats should be allowed to debate." But before that, he's like, "Yeah, I know people in DNC. I like and I respect a lot of people in DNC." You do? Now we know why. I'm making a point. We know why because he's a Democrat, right? But how can you square that circle? You see how easily Americans square that circle? Yeah, I think you should stop being a fascist and allow democracy. But I actually like those people. You like fascists? You like people who are anti-democracy? Now ask him a question about Putin and watch how he's like, "Yeah, Putin is the worst. Putin is the worst evil tyrannical maniac ever." Meanwhile, you're literally talking about people who are canceling democracy like they're your good friends. At what point do we draw a line? At what point do we say you're a fascist? I don't respect you. That's civility politics. That's why you're not allowed to say that. Let's continue.
All right, now let's get to I won't preface her, but if you remember this face, she's been in a viral story before, but she's back with this story. With this reporting.
Political reporter Alexi McCammond and Alencia Johnson, a political strategist and senior advisor for Biden's 2020 campaign. Great to have both of you here. Alexi, this is nothing new. Neither party has held primary debates when their incumbent is in the White House since the 70s. So this would be essentially a break with long tradition. So I'm very curious about what this focus group told you. Why do they think Biden needs to debate?
Yeah, and I appreciate you highlighting this, and obviously the usual caveats, right, that it's 11 voters. But in the past 4 focus groups we've done before this too, the big thing that has come up is, frankly, Biden's age and how that's a problem with these voters who are more independent-minded and looking more toward the person rather than the party. A lot of them want to see him debate RFK Jr. or any.
So I got to stop here and insert this, Nick. This whole age thing that they're trying to make it seem like,
exactly.
Oh, this is just a scapegoat instead of talking about policy why people don't like him. They're trying to make it seem like it's young people who's bringing up age when it's them who want to keep focusing on age as the reason why young people don't like him. It's 2 reasons. It makes people go, see, this is how young people just being shallow. They don't have any real critiques. Exactly. They're just saying he's too. Oh, no real critiques. It's for that point. And it's also for that, so they don't have to talk about all the things that people they don't like about him that would stop them from voting, like the Ukraine war. Go ahead.
That's such a great point, CJ. It's this 3-dimensional propaganda.
Right.
They pick the critique, so none of the real critiques are aired.
Right.
How many segments have we done, CJ? Talking about Biden's age. 1 in 2 years? One, not being generous. I say 1 because I'm like, did I forget 1? Maybe 1 in 2 years.
Man, we didn't cover it as an age. We covered it as this is a terrible critique on him. It still wasn't even us covering really age. It was still, we still had the same critique that this is not even an effective critique. I mean, what are we really talking about here, man? JFK is not exactly young. Marianne Williamson is 70. What are we talking about here, really, Nick? You see how this is not really the critique that they really want to talk about? Go ahead.
Yeah, and it shows how shallow our politics are, that liberals in our establishment promote this. Because to be clear here, guys, I will vote for someone. I don't care how old they are. They got good ideas.
too.
I supported Bernie Sanders. When I was part of the Bernie Sanders campaign, I remember when the age question would be brought up. Like, dude, that's the least of my concern. So let's say Bernie Sanders, when I was supporting him, let's say he won and he died in office. Okay, we picking him because he selects our cabinet. He make a government official picks. So even if he dies in office, we want an administration with his values. So even if Bernie or someone dies 2 years in, I want Bernie to be able to pick the head of the FDA and all these things. Like, these are why you want to support someone. Obviously, I don't support Bernie now, but this is the general argument. If Rome was 88 years old, I'm not passing on voting for Rome because he's 88 years old. I'm like, this is a motherfucker with great ideas, and he will hire great staff, and he will put together a government that will enact his agenda. That's why the age argument is never effective. Because it's about who you want in government. So even that person doesn't last that long, as long as he hires people that share his vision, the age is irrelevant. This is the argument I used to make all the time with Bernie, which is why the age is not concerned with Biden. The ideas are a concern. Okay, if Biden dies, we get Pete Buttigieg and Kamala Harris. What changed? Nothing fucking changes. That's why I never critique the age. Like, you critique the idea. So it's a weak argument in general to make. But anyway, continue, TJ, if you want.
Any other prominent Democratic challenger who might jump in, because they say they want him to prove his mental fitness for office, but not just him, that's anyone else on that stage. They also say that if other folks are running for the same party, they want to know what those policy differences are, what the policy similarities are. These folks obviously voted for Biden in 2020. They're not really interested in having him run again this time. So they're looking to an alternative. And that's in part why they want to see him go up against someone like RFK Jr.
In fact, Valencia, let me read to you.
I think, Nick, and we're going to get to another clip. I think, Nick, that even them allowing for this discussion to even be on corporate media is because there could be some people who are saying in the establishment, because don't think that all the establishment agree on everything. They could be saying, look, Joe Biden does look weak. I don't think he's going to beat against against Donald Trump. So let's have him compete in primaries so we can see how good he's going to be. We need to see. We just saw how Trump is, and he's going to destroy people. So let's see. So there could be a small group of, people with power that would like to see this. But for the most part, the ruling class and the Democratic establishment, I'm not sure they're going to bow to the pressure unless they also see like, wow, Joe Biden may not win this. I think
it depends on the polls. I think it depends. There's that Rasmussen poll, which is, I want everyone to be careful with that because I saw a lot of people freaking out over that. That poll, because RFK was like at 40 something, Biden was at 40 something.
Yeah, I'll bring it up. So, because I had it as a receipt, and I wanted to bring that same caveat, so you can continue with the caveat.
Yeah.
So we
But people need to realize it's not representative of a Democrat. Like if you look at the polling methodology, and trust me, guys, I saw this shit. I was like, oh, that's hype, but we gotta be real.
Yeah.
This is not really representative of the Democrat Party primary process based on the people they asked. But my point being, if there was ever a real poll, like inconsistent polls that show RFK this close to Biden, they are canceling that shit. There's no doubt in my fucking mind they are doing that. There was a story from the New York Times written after Nevada when Bernie looked like he was going to win, where the Democratic Party said we would tank our entire party before we screw our class over, before we turn over to someone who's a threat to the military industrial complex. And RFK is a giant threat to Moderna and Pfizer. They will 100% destroy the Democratic Party if it takes stopping him. So if they see polls where Biden at 70% and RFK is like at 8 to 10%, then they may allow a primary process to happen. But if there's any chance of it happening, I would bet a lot that they will cancel it, and they already show signs that they are. The fact, and that's why I think there's value in watching like people like Jen Psaki and Morning Joe and like rank propaganda, because they accidentally let the intentions of the establishment slip. When Simone Sanders is shit-libbing it up with Jen Psaki and people with Morning Joe, and they talking about canceling primary debates, that's the message that the establishment want to get out there. They're showing their hands. But CJ, you can continue.
Yeah, so this is a different clip just to scoot through this segment so we can close it. This one is talking, or I'll let it, because it's a short clip. I'll let it speak for itself.
You saw the ABC Washington Post poll, and did you? I mean, I guess how worried should Democrats be about the public concern, growing concern about the president's age and his effective ability to do the job?
Large numbers of Democrats actually didn't want President Biden to run again.
Right.
In trial heats for the Democratic primary for president, the president was getting 40% or under. Said that 60% of Democrats had real doubts about him running for a second term, and a 36% job approval to that. And boy, you got to have a lot of nervousness. That's maybe why they rushed that early announcement to freeze the field and prevent further deterioration within the Democratic Party.
But we still got, more a year and a half or so before the election, and 9-10 months before the first primary. What's it going to take for some Democrat who's not RFK Jr. or Marianne Williamson, a serious Democrat in the sense that it has a serious chance to say, you know what? I'm going to challenge Biden, even if it's risky personally. We just have to have a new change in leadership.
I think realistically, some Democrats are going to look at this probably around July. If Trump is beating Biden by 6 points in a head-to-head presidential race, and the president is under 40, I think you could see some Democrats get in. They really need to make a decision July, August, the latest, in order to have an effective organization in the early primary.
And once one governor would decide to get in,
You think they're going to do the South Carolina strategy again? Because I actually I didn't think about this.
Oh, hold on.
It's kind of unpredictable. Generally, in challenging.
There we go. I was on the wrong screen.
I didn't think about this till now, but can you see them doing the Joe Biden South Carolina strategy again? Remember, you asked the question why there's some people who may be comfortable doing a primary process. South Carolina is first, and this guy mentioned that around July, Biden the week, they may introduce candidates. What happens? And I don't know the answer. I'm asking rhetorically. What happens if a bunch of people jump into this race and they do the South Carolina strategy again, especially considering South Carolina is going to be one of Biden's stronger states against people like RFK and Marianne Williamson? What happens to the election if Biden win that first state by a blowout? Like, does all the other polling matter after that? Like, what would change people's perception and be like, oh, I guess Biden's the guy? Like, there are a lot of questions, and that's the guy brings something interesting. Like, the establishment do that again, and then people will run with no intention of being Biden, right? They running just as people to siphon support away from people who, the Democrats say they don't want to see Biden win again, right?
Right.
So you introduce like another Amy Klobuchar-like character, Gavin Newsom in there. Try to siphon 1% and many people you came from RFK, and then do the South Carolina strategy all over again, especially with the Bernie progressives going to bat for you. Will RFK be able to overcome that? I think it would be obviously I don't think it's possible. It's going to be very tough. We see they got a lot of tricks to throw at RFK, and even if they do, if RFK can't overcome that, I think they would just fucking like. I think there's so much shit that happened to us. I can't even say without getting our YouTube channel pulled. But if there's a situation where RFK have more Democrat support than Biden, they will just change the vote counts. And I'm gonna stop there. That's what I believe. There's no way they're gonna let it go. There's no way. They will just win the votes. They're gonna fucking do it.
Let's put it this way: a meteor will come down and change that shit. Okay, it's not happening. All right, it's about 20 seconds left in this video, maybe 15. Let's listen to what the closeout is.
Probably not. Although it's a kind of unpredictable. Generally, in challenging incumbent presidents, usually that's a pretty lonely field. So I'm not sure that 10 people would get in at all. I think it would be most likely 1 or 2.
Okay.
So I got one last receipt for this, and then I'm done I guess we're both done for today. One last receipt, Nick, and I say it's a slight treat. Meet the Press. Like I said, they're in full. Not just Meet the Press, but everybody's in full like panic mode about Trump, in particular in that town hall, what he said about Ukraine. They're trying to act like what he said about the accuser in the civil trial. What they're trying to make it like, oh, what did he say about this in January 6th? But they know what landed the most was Ukraine. They know that, and they're in full panic mode. Let's listen to Meet the Press. This was one of their longest intros I've ever seen, Nick. This is just the intro. So, Nick, it's about 3 minutes long, and then we can comment. I'll let it play all the way through.
Yeah, go ahead.
This Sunday, Party Boss. Donald Trump previews his vision for a second term, an agenda that proved divisive with swing voters in 2022.
Would you sign a federal abortion ban into law?
What I'll do is negotiate so that people are happy.
After a town hall peddling election lies, promising to pardon January 6 rioters, and refusing to pick sides in the war in Ukraine, his 2024 rivals remain largely silent.
Can you say if you want Ukraine or Russia to win this war?
I want everybody to stop dying.
As the field of challengers grows, can any of his rivals take him on without alienating his supporters? I'll talk to former Republican Congressman Will Hurd of Texas, who's considering his own bid for president.
Yeah, right. Get out of
Plus,
here.
Moral compass. After a jury found Trump liable for sexual abuse, his opponents mostly silent.
I just don't think it's where the American people are focused.
Does character matter anymore for Republican primary voters?
You got the audacity to ask that
The
question.
editor-in-chief of Christianity Today. And border crisis.
I want to be very clear. Our borders are not open.
As the Biden administration braces for a surge at the southern border, it's Democrats that are divided.
I oppose the Biden administration plan to end Title 42.
This is
Will the
Democrats,
president
guys.
listen to his base
Jesus
or
Christ.
political center? I'll talk to Democratic Senator Chris Murphy of Connecticut. Joining me for insight and analysis are New York Times White House correspondent Peter Baker. Political.
As he introduced these people, I'm including it. You tell me if you're getting a different perspective here.
Playbook co-author Rachel Babe, Republican strategist Al Cardenas, and Kimberly Atkins Storr, senior opinion writer for the Boston Globe. Welcome to Sunday. It's Meet the Press.
So I'll stop it there. We don't need to go any further for copyright. I'm sure they'll copyright some of that. But the point of why I wanted to insert that, because they covered many topics that's kind of coming into focus. The thing that's happening with Trump could not, the town hall, like they didn't know the polling was going to come out the same day. But all these things kind of converging at the same time, and they really don't know how to effectively address it, which is why I think there's leaving an opening for them to even talk about Joe Biden being replaced, and how that guy in that segment was like, July is kind of a pivotal month where they're going to be like, hey, if we don't see no change, we may have to just say, yeah, we're going to do debates and let the governor of Detroit come in, let Gavin Newsom come in and put their feet in this pot here.
Yeah.
Go
yeah.
ahead.
Yeah, this is gonna be this election is gonna be a shit show, and I think this every election, say since 16. But I hope seeing Biden versus Trump too, because that's what's gonna happen. Will finally make people throw their hands up. But there's something that told me that won't happen. Because I've been saying that. I said that every election since 16. You know, like maybe this will be the one that would. Nah, it hasn't happened. But, I don't know, man. I hope it's just becoming so obvious that this is a political fraud, especially now you have Democrats championing the same policy that apparently made Trump a fascist. Title 42 that doesn't work, Title 42 being placed, and we have this quote-unquote migration problem. So by ending Title 42 is going to work. The whole discourse is unserious. If you want to slow and end the migration crisis, lift U.S. sanctions, end U.S. imperialism, stop financially strangleholding our enemies. And these are things that will drive down migration, but it's not a fast fix because we are going to suffer the consequences of U.S. foreign policy for quite some time. So they got to make up some bullshit. You got people spreading nonsense, including a bunch of black capitalists that Biden has an open border. And this is the point I didn't make last segment because I was rambling too much, but I'm making it here now. They keep saying that Biden has an open border, despite the fact that Biden is spending $6 billion more on DHS and Custom Border Enforcement and Trump. So what are they really saying? Let's look beyond the initial talking point. Why is it so crazy to say Donald Trump had an open border? Can you imagine saying that? Can you imagine how much someone would be ridiculed if they say that? But Biden deported more people than Trump, spent more at the border, but he has an open border. For one, this is going along with the red-blue game, but also this is the capitalists admitting that their strategy to address immigration is not working. So if you're one of the people that is all for funding DHS and ICE more, you need to justify that $26 billion. So we spend $26 billion, there's still a giant migration problem. It's almost like there's a more effective way we can handle the problem, like ending U.S. militarism. But Americans cannot wrap their mind around this fact, especially the more right-wing people in our country, that just throwing money at the border, throwing money into authoritarian government programs will not solve your problems. The same way that they think throwing money at the police will solve crime, throwing money at the border and ICE and DHS is not solving the migration problem, as shown by the Biden and Trump administration. So at what point do we actually advocate for or even start to brainstorm serious solutions about this problem? We won't. We will continue to get unserious segments that we've seen, unserious op-eds by black capitalists trying to get us to hate undocumented people. There are very serious solutions to this problem that no one in politics is discussing because it strikes to the core of militarism and U.S. politics.
That's spot on, Nick. Go ahead with the super chats. Yeah, no, that's the end of that there.
Yeah, I don't know why it works sometime, but we have AutoStar all our super chats, which is dope. Hope we can keep that up because I don't see that all the time. But
it auto starred them.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah,
it's right there. Yeah, it's a feature now there.
Yeah, I saw it before and they took it off. Hopefully they keep it now. That's a great feature. We don't have to worry about missing super chat. So I'm gonna read the ones we didn't get to. Thank you for $10, Justin. Spot on assessment. They're definitely going to pull the South Carolina strategy. We've seen these games before. That's why it was so absurd that morons like the Vanguard and many other Marianne Williams supporters was like, yeah, look how popular she is in New Hampshire. And then New Hampshire was moved to like the 4th primary state.
Yeah.
You gotta take 3 devastating L's before you have a somewhat good showing. She's not even favored to win. They said she's doing better than usual. So what the phenomenon that happens in elections that you gotta project momentum, you gotta project strength. This is why Bernie Sanders was so strong-handed to Nevada after his performance in Iowa and New Hampshire. If you have a bad Iowa, if you had a bad New Hampshire before, your campaign was essentially dead in the water because it showed that you're not a viable candidate. You're someone who can't win.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what's seeing Bernie because after Biden had that major Super Tuesday, starting with South Carolina, that showed that Bernie is weaker than Biden, and Bernie never recovered from that. So the theory behind how you defeat a president, the theory, because it never happened, right? The theory on how you beat president is during the first 2 primaries, you beat them so bad, it's like, man, this person is a stronger general election candidate than our president. This is how it will work. So Marianne was storming in South Carolina, went 60-30, something like that. And then it'd be so bad that people were like, man, we can't have Biden win because we need Trump to lose. But what would happen this time is because the DNC rigged the primaries, they put South Carolina first, knowing that that's Biden's most powerful state, knowing that Jim Clyburn was going to have his back. Do you guys know how over our primary would have been last time South Carolina went first? So what's going to happen is you're going to have a sitting president going against Marianne Williamson or RFK. South Carolina, the national polling not going to mean a goddamn thing. Biden going to get endorsed by Jim Clyburn again. There's going to be a massive turnout and support for Biden. He's going to win the state by 30%. And I'm being very generous. Let's say RFK puts on one hell of a performance and wins by loses only by 30%, 30 points. Then Marianne Williamson and RFK has to go to next state and explain to people how, despite the fact that he got destroyed in the first state, they somehow the stronger candidate. That is going to be very unlikely. And when Marianne Williamson first announced, that's something I immediately acknowledged, immediately recognized as a giant issue for her campaign. But the people who attended the Marianne Williamson sponsored wedding, they didn't tell their audience this. They said, there's a good chance you're going to win, right? She said, hell yeah. And they're like, yes, you can win, without even bringing the stuff up because they want you to waste their money.
Just lying.
So they can anyway, I was ready for that first super chat. Thank you for the $2, Sean. RFK is a bourgeoisie weasel. Go back before COVID. There's another one by Sean. No to the cloud chasing bourgeoisie weasel. RFK Jr. too. That's why it was so hilarious. Marianne Williamson fans who are in complete cope mode, because I don't know why they thought we would be okay with this shit. I don't know. Like, you know, the people were trying to recruit us for the Marianne Williamson thing, and we was like, hell to the fuck no. I don't know what you guys thought this shit was. So then a lot of the Marianne Williamson people was like, they were spreading the lie that, oh, RBN supports RFK. I've seen quite a few. The people like, RBN support RFK. They're hypocrites. Like, when did we ever say we support RFK?
Yeah, we don't.
Well,
I don't know.
you're cool by Marianne people. Anyway, you guys see our audience and how people who support us, they feel RFK. They're not tricked by him either. We're not here to sheep herd people and give them false ideas about what the electoral process is. Anyway, thank you for 499. Immigrant Kid here. Thank you for helping bridge support between our communities. RBN always invited to carne asada. Absolutely. Thank you for 499, my friend. And once again, I'm just following the long-standing traditions of our African leaders, our Black brothers and sisters. Nkosi Mandela was just on my show and stressed the importance between international solidarity. And he mentioned how organizations he worked with play a big role in spreading awareness about Black Lives Matter, the genocide going on in Black Americans. He said on my show that a lot of you guys didn't watch because it wasn't drama, that he views Black Americans, their struggle very similar to the Palestinians. So there is this international support for Black lives, which is why it's ridiculous when you see a very minority, few Black nationalists say, well, immigrants don't care about us, so we shouldn't care about immigrants. For one, that's not even true. They're not even true. In Palestine, there is a moral of George Floyd. They're not even true. It's a nonstop victim mentality and oppression Olympics. These people care more about winning the oppression Olympics and declaring them the most oppressed people instead of locking arms and defeating our enemy. If you don't care about the undocumented migrant, if you are heartless, do it just so you can give an L to our oppressor, and more than anything. Anyway, sorry. I need.
Oh, they just auto start another one. So yeah, it's on. I just saw it happen real time.
Hopefully they keep that. I really hope they keep that feature. Thank you for the 199. I'd rather vote for the R's. These are that bad. No post-duopoly, my brother. I appreciate the super chat, but we are post-duopoly voting for Republicans. While it may give you like the initial satisfaction of seeing liberals cry, it will not do anything for your life. In fact, it will embolden Republicans to do more war shit. Like, there's nothing that will come voting Republican, my brother. Please listen to me when I say that. But thank you for the $5, GV Black. Check your revolutionary discipline. Get off the red blue game. Yeah, this is what we're saying. We need you to listen, cool blue guy. Post duopoly, nothing else. No discussion. Democrat, Republican, other than how do we destroy it? Yeah, that's the only way. That's the only time we discuss. I love being a Marxist. I love being an unapologetic third-party activist where I watch like Morning Joe, I watch the Red Blue Game. Like, we watch the Trump Town Hall, and one of the reasons why that's one of our most viewed videos, and a lot of people love to stream, because we were just laughing at the absurdity of it. Because when you're a Marxist, when you post duopoly, it's way less stress paying attention to this shit. We are taking advantage of the divisions in capital. The only job that we have is to convince people that our system and people who represent the system is ridiculous. Once people come to the conclusion that our system is ridiculous, that will open their minds to other ideas. So if the person who fearmongers over Marxism, the person who fearmongers over communism is shown to be ridiculous, as we do all the time, then maybe you will start to question what they say about communism. Maybe you start questioning what they say about Marxism, because you know ridiculous people are saying it, because we are showing you guys how ridiculous their divisions are. We're showing you how ridiculous capitalism is, and that will lead people to be post-duopoly. Anyway, I'm ranting like a motherfucker. Thank you, GV Black, always with the solidarity super chats. CJ, anything else you want to add? I think we're done with the super chats for now. I have some more guest announcements later this week, and some more announcements later. Just make sure you guys check to see if you're still subscribed and support the show and live stream if you enjoy. CJ, anything else?
No, nothing to add to the stream. Tomorrow we have RBN live. Don't forget, Wednesday is the premiere of the new show, The End of Empire, with Wyatt Reed. Same time, 3 p.m. Eastern. The End of Empire. Can't wait for that. Lots of foreign policy stuff. Lots of imperialism. Lots of he's an anti-imperialist journalist. So doing that joint show with him, it's going to be great. You want to read that? Read that one.
Yeah, Didi always with the fire comments, and this is what we Marxist. Didi is a great communist Marxist writer. Exactly, Nick. Japan completely dominated by one party, but it will say Xi Jinping and China, Russia and Putin have a stranglehold. They are totalitarians. Meanwhile, if you look in the United States, if you look at UK, if you look at Japan, it is one fucking party. If you don't believe us, go to the UK and advocate against the Ukraine war and see how many parties there really are. You see how many parties there really are in UK. Go ahead and do that. But anyway, let me continue the comment by Didi. Japan is completely dominated by one party, but we overwhelmingly hear slander of the DPRK, where the DPRK parties work together with a common goal: post-duopoly for the United States. Didi used to do a lot of debunking the DPRK. I learned a lot from them. They had a Twitter account that was banned because she used to expose U.S. propaganda, and then they made some bullshit reason. They said because of ban invasion. She I don't have no extra account. They banned her because her critiques of the U.S. Imperial Court was so devastating.
So they made that up. They made that up.
So many leftists just got banned, and they made some bullshit, and they were all anti-imperialist account. Didi was like, "All right, you banned me. I'm done. I don't need this shit." So she just never came back. But anyway, always good to see her comments on here because she actually changed a lot of people's mind on DPRK. There are a lot of people whose minds still colonized, still believe a lot of stupid ass shit about that country because it was said on CNN. Anyway, they colonize your minds. Love you guys. I'll pass you, CJ. I'll see you guys tomorrow for RBN Live.
Yeah, we'll take you out with this video. NATO commander talking about how we are already stationed in China, in the China Sea. So let's listen to this clip as we go out. Thank you for watching the Nick and CJ Nick and CJ show this Monday.
Well, NATO allies are present also in the South China Sea. They sail there with merchant ships, and of course also sail there with military or naval ships. NATO will remain a regional alliance, North America and Europe. But what was clearly stated for the first time in the strategic concept we agreed in Madrid last year was that China matters for our security, and China poses a challenge to our interests, our values, and to our security. And that's also one of the reasons why we are now working even more closely with our Asia-Pacific partners, and also why we have so clearly communicated that status quo in and around Taiwan should not be changed by force, and China's threatening rhetoric and behavior against Taiwan is unjustified, and any differences and disputes around Taiwan should be resolved by peaceful means.